Chapter 1295. Qin Xiaoping's face darkened when Xiao Keshuan and Zheng Xijie refused to give him any face. Although Pei Yutong wasn't involved in JM's management, he was the third young master of the Pei family after all. He had connections in the industry, and he had helped Xiao Keshuan pull some strings. Xiao Keshuan was an important confidant to Pei Yutong. Furthermore, Pei Yutong had a significant stake in Summit Entertainment. Although he had heard that Boss Pei had imposed financial sanctions on him, and that he could not use his shares, he still had a say in Summit Entertainment. If Pei Yutong really made a fuss, even he and Director Guo would not be able to decide on the female lead. The other higher-ups of Summit Entertainment were well aware of this. They were good at reading people's expressions, so they wouldn't miss out on such a good opportunity to build connections with the Pei family. One of them, who looked to be in his 40s or 50s, said, "In terms of experience and ability, Keshuan is indeed better than Lin Yan. I think Director Guo's movie is suitable for Keshuan." Duo, who was fuming with rage, whispered to Lin Yan, "Director Wang is obviously in charge of the public relations department. How could he have read Director Guo's script? He hasn't even read the script, yet he is lying through his teeth. How could Xiao Keshuan be suitable for the female lead? Besides, in terms of experience and ability, Sister Yan is clearly better." Another executive in a navy suit chimed in. "Summit Entertainment is the leader of the industry because it has rules. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. Don't worry, Keshuan. We will definitely settle this matter with a satisfactory outcome." "That's right." The rest of the executives and shareholders chimed in agreement. All of them were the most authoritative executives in Summit Entertainment. With their collective pressure, Guo Changfeng wouldn't be able to hold on. Although he was the director, Summit Entertainment had invested in this movie. "Thank you, President Su, Director Li, and Director Sunday." Xiao Keshuan glanced at Lin Yan before she thanked them one by one. Zheng Xijie chimed in. "Fortunately, the few of you are sensible enough to protect Keshuan. Otherwise, Keshuan would have been bullied to death. I will report this to Third Young Master later." When Zheng Xijie said that she would put in a good word for Pei Yutong, the higher-ups were satisfied that they had achieved their goal. Summit Entertainment's Vice President Su cleared his throat and said, "All right, this matter has been decided. Director Guo, Ku Xian will be the female lead in your new movie. Lin Yan, given your current capabilities, you aren't qualified to take on such an important role. Ku Xian is more suitable for this role." Zheng Xijie looked smug as she glanced at Lin Yan and Zhao Hongling. "Director Zhao, didn't I tell you to recognize your artist status? Don't have unrealistic fantasies. There are some things that you can't snatch just because you want to." Zhao Hongling had already expected that the company's top management would stand on Xiao Keshuan's side. But the situation tonight was worse than she had imagined. She naturally wanted to argue, but deep down, she knew that no matter what she said or how Lin Yan had obtained the resources through legitimate means, these people wouldn't care. Lin Yan didn't respond. She poured a cup of tea for Director Guo and glanced at the time on her phone. 5 minutes passed quickly, and there was less than a minute left. Vice President Su gazed at Lin Yan sternly and said, "Lin Yan, I will arrange for someone to deal with your manager and settle the contract with you. After that, you apologize to Ku Huan, and this matter will be considered over." Chapter 1296. Lin Yan raised an eyebrow. "Apologize? Vice President Su, are you joking?" "Why?" The vice president's face darkened. "You broke the company's rules, but the company hasn't punished you yet. All they want is an apology. What kind of attitude is that?" Zheng Xijie gloated at Lin Yan's misfortune. Lin Yan really didn't know her place. She wouldn't repent until she saw her coffin. Xiao Keshuan sat quietly enjoying her wine. She admired how Lin Yan had disappeared from her sight. Zhao Hongling inhaled deeply. "Vice President Su, what did Lin Yan do wrong? Why should she apologize?" Vice President Su had been competing with Chu Jiayao for years, so she needed a chance to climb up the ranks. She had to seize the opportunity to curry favor with the third young master. If he helped Xiao Keshuan get rid of Lin Yan, she would owe him a favor. Xiao Keshuan's words would be the most useful to him. Vice President Su bellowed furiously. What did she do wrong? As Lin Yan's manager, You helped the evildoer. How can you not repent? All of you apologize to Kishwan together. Otherwise, all of you can leave Summit Entertainment today. Following Vice President Su's angry shout, the other executives also looked on coldly from the sidelines. Clearly, they were on the same side. Zhao Hongling clenched her fists tightly. She knew that if they insisted, they would be chased out of the company. However, she couldn't allow Lin Yin to apologize and suffer such humiliation. Zhao Hongling inhaled deeply and replied coldly, Lin Yin hasn't done anything wrong. I'm the one who accepted all her jobs. If you want to apologize, let me do it. Zhao Hongling turned to Qiao Kishwan and rose from her seat. Kishwan, you're right. Before Zhao Hongling could finish her sentence, Lin Yin pressed her shoulder and made her sit back down. Sister Ling, sit down. We're not the ones who need to apologize. Vice President Su slammed her hand on the table when she saw Lin Yan's arrogance. Lin Yan, don't be so ungrateful. If you don't need an apology, who does? This is outrageous. Do you really think that I shouldn't have terminated the contract with you? When Pei Yutong and Pei Nanshu arrived, they were greeted by this scene. Chu Jia followed behind them. Third young master. One of the higher-ups with sharp eyes shot to his feet when he recognized him. You Academy. Qiao Kishwan also revealed a delighted expression. Vice President Su stood up hurriedly and looked at Pei Yutong with a wide smile. Aya, third young master. Why didn't you inform me that you were coming? I'll go pick you up. Third young master, please sit here. Vice President Su stood up and walked over. Pei Yutong pushed Vice President Su away impatiently. Do you have a death wish? Move aside. Don't get in the way. Pei Yutong pushed Vice President Su aside and ignored Qiao Kishwan. He bolted like a cannonball in Lin Yan's direction. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Pei Yutong fell to his knees and hugged Lin Yan's legs tightly. He wailed at the top of his lungs. Daddy, I apologize. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me this time. Lin Yan was speechless. Duo and Zhao Hongling. Pei Nanshu and Chu Jia were speechless. Qiao Kishwan, Zheng Xijia, Vice President Su, and the higher-ups were speechless. End of this chapter. Chapter 1297. Even Lin Yan was startled by Pei Yutong's loud voice. Lin Yan tried to pull her leg out, but she couldn't. Lin Yan inhaled deeply. Let go. Pei Yutong hugged her tightly and refused to let go. He looked like a student who was complaining to his parents. Daddy, they are spreading rumors. It was all their fault for spreading rumors about me. How could I ban you? What kind of misunderstanding do they have about my position in the family? It's good enough that you don't ban me. Lin Yan was shocked by his childishness. She didn't want to admit that they were father and son. All she wanted to do was kick him out. Vice President Su and the others finally came back to their senses. The group of higher-ups stared at this shocking scene, as if they had seen a ghost. A second ago, they had been forcing Lin Yan to apologize because they wanted to suck up to Pei Yutong. Who would have thought that Pei Yutong would rush out and kneel before Lin Yan? He hugged her thigh and begged for her forgiveness. The scariest thing was that what had he called Lin Yan? Daddy. All the higher-ups, who had been trying to guess their relationship, were confused. They couldn't figure out what was going on. Duodwa's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. She remembered clearly the conversation between Lin Yan and Zheng Xijia. Zheng Xijia quipped, Lin Yan, are you hallucinating? You asked third young master to come out? Who do you think you are? Lin Yan had replied, Who am I? I'm his father. Who would have thought that this scene would actually happen? Zheng Xijia was flabbergasted. She wondered if she was hallucinating. Naturally, she recalled what Lin Yan had said and how she had mocked her. As for Qiao Kishwan, she had guessed that Lin Yan was Pei Yutong's lover or partner. That was why she had asked Pei Yutong to come over. However, she didn't think much of Lin Yan. Lin Yan was merely a bedmate. How could she compare to her? Even if she had caused trouble for Pei Yutong, he would definitely be on her side. Lin Yan's fate would only be worse. However, judging from Pei Yutong's attitude, he wasn't just concerned about Lin Yan. He was also fearful of her. How could this be? At this moment, a crack finally appeared on Qiao Kishwan's originally calm and composed expression. Pei Nanshu still cared about the Pei family's reputation. He stroked his forehead and tried to pull his silly brother up. Yutong, get up first. No. If Dad doesn't forgive me, I won't get up. Tears welled up in Pei Yutong's eyes. The thought of being sent away and never being able to touch his beloved racing car scared him out of his wits. He felt as though he had lost all hope. So what's the point of saving face? As long as his father's anger subsided, he would do anything. Vice President Su finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Trembling with fear, he asked, "Third young master, may I ask, what is your relationship with Miss Lin?" Vice President Su's words could be said to be the question that everyone present was wondering. Instantly, everyone turned to look at Pei Yutong. Pei Yutong couldn't even be bothered to look at Vice President Su. Instead, he replied impatiently, "We are father and son. She is my father. Are you deaf, or do you not understand human language?" Vice President Su, the higher-ups. Do you think this answer is reasonable? No one can understand it. End of this chapter. Chapter 1298. Although the higher-ups couldn't figure out the relationship between Lin Yan and Pei Yutong, they weren't fools. Based on Pei Yutong's attitude, no matter what their relationship was, Lin Yan was like his father. So they had just offended Pei Yutong's father? All the higher-ups turned ghastly pale when they realized this. They were doomed. They couldn't hold on any longer. A few of the higher-ups panicked. Only then did they remember Chu Jiayao. All of them looked at Chu Jiayao for help. Chu Jiayao rolled his eyes. He didn't want to care about them. Actually, he had been worried that Pei Yutong would kick up a fuss. After all, Pei Yutong was famous for his bad temper. He had imagined countless possibilities, but he had never imagined that this hot-tempered little lion would be as obedient as a lamb in front of Lin Yan. Vice President Su had wanted to use Pei Yutong to climb up the ranks, but he had failed miserably. He was filled with regret and could only try to salvage the situation. Let me ask you, who was the one who spread rumors that I wanted to ban Lin Yan? Pei Yutong glared at the higher-ups coldly. Vice President Su and the rest of the higher-ups, who had been arrogant and threatening to terminate Lin Yan's contract, didn't even dare to utter a word now. Vice President Su hastily said, "Third young master, look at this. It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. We didn't say anything like that." "Yeah, third young master. Miss Lin is so outstanding and has created so many benefits for the company. How could we ban her?" Pei Yutong didn't care about his image in front of Lin Yan. However, when he faced the higher-ups, he exuded the aura of a superior. "That's easy for you to say. What about the damage to my reputation? Who was the one who spread rumors about me? You have to clarify this matter today." Several of the higher-ups immediately looked in Xiao Kechuan's direction. Xiao Kechuan had been the one who had spread the news that Pei Yutong had wanted to ban Lin Yan. That was why they had joined forces to deal with Lin Yan. Speaking of which, they were also the victims. After weighing the pros and cons, several of the higher-ups collectively changed their stance. In order to completely disassociate themselves from this matter, they directly sold out Xiao Kechuan. "Third young master, this is actually a personal conflict between Miss Lin and Xiao Kechuan. It was Xiao Kechuan who spread the news, saying that third young master wanted to ban Miss Lin. We didn't understand the truth of the matter at the beginning, so we made the wrong judgment. This matter really has nothing to do with us." Xiao Kechuan glanced at the person who had spoken, and her face sank. Pei Yutong looked at Xiao Kechuan coldly. Xiao Kechuan had raced in the same team as him. She was an understanding person, and the two of them had common interests. She had helped him a few times before, so he treated her as a friend and would help her whenever he could. It wasn't until his second brother told him that he found out that she had asked her team to spread all those scandals all these years. She did it for the sake of gaining more benefits. Although he was unhappy with Xiao Kechuan's actions, he didn't really care about anything other than racing. But this time, Xiao Kechuan had crossed his bottom line. Pei Yutong quipped, "Are you the one who said that I wanted to ban Lin Yan?" Xiao Kechuan's confidence was shattered by Pei Yutong's cold gaze. "Yutong, there must be a misunderstanding. Listen to me." Chapter 1299. Pei Yutong quipped, "Explain what? Didn't you use my name to suppress Lin Yan and even chase her out of the company? Xiao Kechuan had never imagined that Pei Yutong would fall out with her because of Lin Yan. She looked incredulous. Pei Yutong hissed coldly. I treat you as a friend, so I don't mind helping you. However, that doesn't mean that you can use me without a bottom line. I didn't. Yutong, why would you think that? I've always treated you as my most important friend and confidant. Lin Yan and I did have some conflicts because we were competing for resources, but I've never used you to do anything to her. Xiao Kechuan was implying that she hadn't said anything, but these people were trying to suck up to Pei Yutong and suppress Lin Yan. Zheng Xijie chimed in hastily. Third young master, Kechuan is sincere about you. You've been together for so many years. Don't you know how she is? How could you accuse her like this? Pei Yutong's scalp went numb when he heard her. He glared at Zheng Xijie fiercely and hissed. Watch your mouth. We've been together for so many years. I have nothing to do with her. We used to be friends, but ever since she used me, we're no longer friends. After glaring at Zheng Xijie fiercely, she turned to Lin Yan with an aggrieved expression. Daddy, you have to believe me. I have nothing to do with her. The rumors about her being my girlfriend and getting married are all bullsh**. I have no intention of getting married or finding a girlfriend. You know that. Besides, if I really wanted to find a girlfriend, how could I not tell you? I'll find you whatever kind of daughter-in-law you like. Lin Yan was speechless. There was no need for that. Xiao Kechuan was speechless, Vice President Su, and the rest of the executives were speechless. Did he have to go through Lin Yan to find a girlfriend? What kind of relationship did they have? Pei Yutong had exerted all his strength to prove his innocence. He hadn't given Xiao Kechuan any face at all. He had ripped apart the image of the third young mistress of the Pei family that she had built up over the years. Wait a minute. I think I heard you guys forcing my father to apologize to you. Pei Yutong's gaze sharpened. When Vice President Su heard this, she hurriedly said, How could that be possible? There's no such thing. Even if we have to apologize, we should be the ones apologizing to Miss Lin. Dad. No, Miss Lin, it's all my fault. Please be magnanimous, and don't hold it against me. Don't worry. The resources that belong to you will belong to you. No one can take them away from you. The female lead of Director Guo's movie will never be replaced. Since Vice President Su had spoken up, the rest of them didn't dare stand idly by. They all started to apologize to Lin Yan, and even called her daddy. When Zheng Xijie saw this, she was completely dumbfounded. It's over. How could she have imagined that Pei Yutong would be so close to Lin Yan? Furthermore, Pei Yutong was so obedient to Lin Yan. It was as though she was his father. Xiao Kechuan's fingernails dug into her palms as her mind replayed Pei Yutong's words. Besides, Pei Yutong had said that he would have to get her approval before he could get a girlfriend. How humiliating. If she wanted to be with Pei Yutong, wouldn't she have to suck up to Lin Yan first? This was simply too absurd. End of the chapter. Chapter 1300. Lin Yan grinned and glanced at Vice President Su and the other executives. The person you should apologize to is Director Guo. Vice President Su hastily raised his glass and glanced at Director Guo. Director Guo, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I will drink 3 glasses to apologize to you. Xiao Kechuan, who was fuming with rage, glared at Zheng Xijie. If Zheng Xijie hadn't scolded Guo Changfeng so rudely, Lin Yan wouldn't have called Pei Yutong over, and things wouldn't have escalated to this point. Pei Yutong had already made it clear that there were no secrets in this industry. Soon, this matter would spread, and she would lose her reputation as the future third young mistress. Apologize. Xiao Kechuan suppressed her anger as she glared at Zheng Xijie. Zheng Xijie no longer looked as arrogant and haughty as before. She was so frightened that she was sweating profusely. She hurriedly bowed and apologized to Guo Changfeng. Director Guo, it's my fault. Nothing decent can come out of my mouth. Please be magnanimous, and don't hold it against someone like me. Even though Guo Changfeng was used to all sorts of situations in the entertainment industry, he was still shocked by this dramatic scene. Producer Qin's mouth hadn't closed at all since the beginning. The scriptwriter sighed and muttered, Even in my dreams, I wouldn't be able to come up with such a magical plot. Pei Yutong was still kneeling, so how could anyone sit down? Hence, Everyone stood rooted to the spot, holding their breaths as they stared at Lin Yan. Daddy, look. This misunderstanding has been cleared up. Have you calmed down? Pei Yutong asked meekly. Lin Yan glanced at him. Who knew how much trouble this kid would cause if word got out? Why did she think of calling this guy over? Lin Yan kicked him gently. Let go of me. Get up first. If you don't forgive me, I won't get up. Pei Yutong mumbled pitifully. What if she went to look for his big brother and beat him up? Lin Yan's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot as she glared at Pei Yutong. Pei Yutong shuddered in fear and stood up reluctantly. He then stood before Lin Yan obediently. Pei Nanchu couldn't bear to watch any longer. He spoke up for his silly brother. Miss Lin, I'm sorry. Yu Academy has caused you trouble. Since Pei Nanchu had spoken, Lin Yan had to give him face. Mr. Pei, you're being too polite. I was also at fault. I was too rash today. Seeing this, Chu Jiao stepped forward to smooth things over. Haha, it's a misunderstanding. It was all a misunderstanding. It's fine as long as you make things clear. Lin Yan, you have an interview later. It's almost time. Lin Yan bade Director Gua and the others farewell before leaving. Xiao Kechuan wanted to speak to Pei Yutong, but he didn't even spare her a glance. Instead, he followed Lin Yan obediently. Xiao Kechuan's legs went limp, and she almost collapsed on the spot. Everyone felt as if they had been pardoned, and their taut nerves finally relaxed. The moment Lin Yan left, a senior executive approached Chu Jiao to ask about the situation. Mr. Chu, what's the relationship between the third master and Miss Lin? Yeah, why is third young master so afraid of her? Isn't this too shocking? Chu Jiao chuckled softly. You're shocked. If they knew about Lin Yan's relationship with Big Boss, wouldn't they be shocked to death? Actually, he had been worried, as Pei Yuqing had never asked about Lin Yan. Hence, he had been worried that Pei Yuqing didn't care about Lin Yan. However, judging from Pei Yutong's attitude toward Lin Yan, it was obvious how important Lin Yan was. Chapter 1301. In the waiting room, Pei Yutong poured Lin Yan a cup of tea. Duo couldn't hold it in any longer. While Zhao Hongling was busy talking to the reporters, Pei Yutong grabbed her and asked, Sister Yan, what the hell was going on? Why did third young master call you? Daddy? Lin Yan, who had already thought of an excuse, replied naturally. Isn't he a racing fan? Coincidentally, I'm good at racing, so I helped him win a race. Then he started to call me daddy. To a professional racer, whoever is better is the daddy. Duo was dumbfounded. That simple? Lin Yan shrugged. What else could it be? Although Duo found it hard to believe, based on Pei Yutong's obsession with racing, Lin Yan's explanation made sense. She hadn't expected that Lin Yan would overtake Xiao Kechuan because of this. Pei Yutong strode over with a cup of tea. Daddy, have some tea. Lin Yan glanced at him and took the tea without saying a word. Pei Yutong couldn't figure out what she was trying to say. Thus he said meekly, Daddy, the ignorant are innocent. I really didn't know that she had used my name to bully others. Please forgive me this once. This kid didn't care about anything else other than racing. He would even help someone earn money when he was betrayed. Lin Yan wanted to teach him a lesson, so that he wouldn't forget it. Hence she replied coldly, Is an apology enough? Tears welled up in Pei Yutong's eyes as he lowered his head and fiddled with his phone with a pained expression. A second later, Lin Yan's phone rang. 1 million yuan has been transferred to your Alipay account. Lin Yan raised her eyebrows imperceptibly as she read Pei Yutong's message. What do you mean? Are you bribing me? Pei Yutong looked fawning. Of course not. Daddy, are you a person who likes money that much? You're a person of noble character and unquestionable integrity. Why would I use such a vulgar method to bribe you? This is my investment in Aurora. It's an investment. Daddy, please accept it. Where did you get so much money? Asked Lin Yan. I tightened my belt to save up the money. Originally, I was planning to use it to upgrade the racing equipment, but I know that my Storm team definitely won't be able to participate in the International League this time. The team's funds are tight, and this amount of money is only enough to buy an engine. So after thinking about it, I might as well use this money to invest in this year's popular teams. Maybe I can even make a profit. If I make a profit, I'll have more money to buy equipment. Lin Yan narrowed her eyes. Which team did you want to invest in? Pei Yutong glanced around guiltily, not daring to meet Lin Yan's eyes. Lin Yan recalled that he had told her that he had stood Xiao Keshuan up because he had to meet the manager of the Sonic Thunder team. Are you going to invest in Sonic Thunder? Lin Yan raised an eyebrow. Pei Yutong replied sheepishly. They are one of the elite teams in the country. I recently obtained their latest training data. They are definitely the strongest team in the country this year. Also, the fleet of that old monster's light speed was really fast. After careful consideration, I chose Thunderous Sound. Air. It's a pity. They think that my money is too little. They don't even want it. Lin Yan rolled her eyes at him. The strongest team in the country is right in front of you. Instead of investing in it, you gave it to someone else. They don't even want it. Why do I have such a silly son? End of this chapter. Chapter 1302. Lin Yan was infuriated by this brat. Didn't he know that good things shouldn't flow to outsiders? Besides, investing in the Aurora team was definitely a profitable business. In the end, he had given away the money, but before he could pay, Yutong was speechless. Aurora? The strongest team in the country? Daddy, I have to admit that you're good at racing. The Racing Association has given Aurora a lot of support, so they're qualified to participate in the third level of the international competition. However, that's the Sonic Thunder team. They're the top team in the country, and they almost entered the competition 3 years ago. Ahem. To be honest, your Aurora team isn't on the same level as them. There were many competitions, big and small. The international competition was the most authoritative one, and it was divided into the third, second, and first levels. Above the first level was the competition of the highest level, the competition of the summit. Ever since the beginning of racing, all the racers who had participated in the competition had been from overseas. The Sonic Thunder team was the only team in the country that had almost entered the competition, so its status in the country's racing industry was unimaginable. Back then, Lin Yan had been with the WZ team. In just 3 years, she had dominated the first, second, and third levels of the international competition. She had been one of the most likely racers to win the competition. It was a pity that she had withdrawn from the competition in that manner. The Sonic Thunder team. I seem to have an impression. Lin Yan tried to recall. She had met them a few times during the competition, but they hadn't interacted much because of the huge difference in their rankings. Pei Yutong looked pained. You only have an impression? As a racer, don't you know the Sonic Thunder team? Don't you know the famous Ling Yang? Lin Yan replied. I don't even remember the slowest racer. Pei Yutong nearly choked on his own breath. Run slowly? He's the fastest racer in the country. Lin Yan replied. I think I remember. In the country's racing industry, Ling Yang's achievements were enough to go down in history. He was a respectable pioneer who had given the country a shot in the arm. Lin Yan finally remembered this person. Lin Yan looked solemn. It's a pity that he became too popular after that. Power and fame came too quickly, so he didn't have the time to train. His results got worse and worse. He couldn't even enter the second level of the international competition, let alone the first level. He didn't get any good results after that. In the end, he was scolded so badly that he retired. He didn't even participate in the international competition last year. Pei Yutong sighed. It's indeed a pity for Ling Yang. However, I recently received news that he hasn't participated in the competition this year because he's undergoing special training. He's preparing his trump card, so he's preparing to come out this time. It was very likely to create another miracle. Many people are fighting to invest in Thunderous Sound Battle Team. How can it be that easy? If he is improving, what about the others? Lin Yan sounded solemn. The more Pei Yutong spoke, the more his heart ached. It was obvious that he still wanted to invest in the Thunderous Sound Battle Team. That was the real deal. Lin Yan glanced at him. Do you still have money? Is that all? Pei Yutong looked as though he was looking at Joe Boppy. That's all I have. Lin Yan sneered coldly. That's what you said previously. You only invested a few 100,000 yuan in your father. But you actually hit 1 million yuan. Are you planning to invest in someone else? Pei Yutong grinned. In the end, I still gave it to you to show my filial piety. Hee. Dad, have you calmed down? I guess so. Lin Yin snorted. Pei Yutong was tearing up. It was too expensive to put out the fire. 1,000,000 yuan. He had wasted it just like that. Chapter 1303. At the same time, in the Xie Corporation's president's office, CEO Xie, were you the one who selected the spokesperson for the My series? The PR manager of the Xie Group asked Xie Zheng. Yes, why? Is there a problem? Xie Zheng raised his head from a pile of documents. The public relations manager reminded him tactfully. President Xie, you don't pay much attention to the industry, so you might not be aware of this. Although Lin Yin is popular and has a good image, she has offended someone. If you work with her, you might get into trouble. Are you referring to the Pei Corporation? Xie Zheng frowned. President Xie, you know about this too. Yes, it is the Pei Corporation. Lin Yin is competing with Qiao Keshuan for resources. Qiao Keshuan is third young master's woman. Lin Yin is so stubborn. Who knows when she will be banned? It's too dangerous to use an artist who could be banned at any time. The public relations manager advised him. I have already made my decision. Xie Zheng's words left no room for argument. He had created MY for Mu Yin, so he had hoped that Lin Yin would be the spokesperson. Now that Lin Yin had been in trouble, he couldn't possibly withdraw his endorsement. Even if Lin Yin was banned, it wouldn't be because of any scandals. At most, she would lose her exposure. She had a good image, was capable, and was passionate about charity. She fit the company's image perfectly. The PR manager's thoughts were different from Xie Zheng's. Naturally, he wanted to maximize his own benefits. Thus, he hurriedly said, President Xie, although Lin Yin has good qualities and is suitable for our company's products, the moment Pei Yutong bans her, this endorsement deal will be useless. Besides, there are many more suitable candidates. What do you think of Qiao Keshuan? She is the future third young mistress of the Pei family. If she could be the spokesperson, she would be more suitable than Lin Yin, who could be banned at any time. Xie Zheng glanced at the manager and was about to speak when someone knocked on the door. Xie Zheng replied, Come in. It was the assistant of the public relations manager. She looked flustered, and her first reaction was to look at the manager. Manager, something happened. No, maybe it's a good thing. What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? Can't you see that Director Xie and I are discussing something important? The public relations manager was unhappy. The assistant said carefully, Manager, this is related to what you and Mr. Xie are talking about, so I have to report it to you immediately. Does it have anything to do with what we're talking about? The PR manager frowned. Xie Zheng frowned, worried that something had happened to Lin Yin. His voice was tense as he asked, Did something happen to Lin Yin? The manager looked as though he had expected this. See, I knew it. Something bad would happen to Lin Yin sooner or later. I didn't expect them to come so soon. The assistant stole a glance at the manager and replied meekly, No, it's not Lin Yin. It's Qiao Keshuan. Qiao Keshuan has been banned. The public relations manager choked and coughed. Ahem ahem ahem. Wait a minute. Make yourself clear. What did you just say? Qiao Keshuan has been banned. Shouldn't Lin Yin be the one being banned? Chapter 1304. The assistant hurriedly explained. A few minutes ago, Pei Yutong posted on Weibo to clarify his relationship with Qiao Keshuan. Summit Entertainment's official account reposted it. Not only that, but I also heard that something big has happened at Summit Entertainment's anniversary celebration. Pei Yutong flew into a rage because Qiao Keshuan wanted to ban Lin Yin. He accused her of using her power to bully others. He even scolded all the higher-ups of Summit Entertainment and ordered them to clean up the atmosphere in the company. Qiao Keshuan has been half-banned. The assistant briefly recounted what had happened, and the public relations manager was dumbfounded after listening to it. Just a second ago, the words he had said to Xie Zheng were still ringing in his ears. If he could get Qiao Keshuan to endorse them, it would be better than Lin Yin, who could be banned at any time. Lin Yin had been so stubborn. Who knew when she would be banned? It was too dangerous to use an artist who could be banned at any time. Who would have thought that a slap would come so quickly? In the end, Xiao Keshuan would be the one to be banned instead of Lin Yan? The manager was dumbfounded. That's impossible. It couldn't be. The assistant looked incredulous as well. You're not the only one. No one expected this at all. It happened so suddenly that the industry is in an uproar. Everyone knows that Xiao Keshuan is third young master's confidant. She might even be the future third young mistress of the Pei family. In the end, her dream of becoming a wealthy family was shattered overnight. She heard that third young master didn't like her at all, and only treated her as a friend. She was the one who spread rumors and spent money to buy news articles to spread rumors about her and third young master's relationship. There was even a big gossip account that directly posted the evidence of her buying the news articles. If you don't believe me, you can check it out online. The manager scrolled to Weibo. Xie Zheng had already clicked on the page while the assistant was speaking. Pei Yutong, Madam Xiao Keshuan and I are just friends. Please stop spreading rumors and slander about me. In addition, Madam Xiao Keshuan has used her relationship with me to suppress other artists in Summit Entertainment. Summit Entertainment has already dealt with the matter. As a shareholder of Summit Entertainment, I would like to apologize to Madam Lin Yan. Summit Entertainment respects and welcomes talented artists. We reject all inappropriate behavior. Pei Yutong's account wasn't verified on Weibo, but Summit Entertainment had shared the post. Apart from that, Pei Yutong had also posted a lawyer's letter on his Weibo. He was suing the entertainment accounts that had been spreading rumors about him and Xiao Keshuan. It was clear that he was trying to distance himself from them. At the same time, there was proof that Xiao Keshuan had paid someone to publish a rumor about her and Pei Yutong. It hadn't even been half an hour since the incident had started, but it had already spread all over the internet. It seemed like Summit Entertainment's PR had done this, and they hadn't given Xiao Keshuan any face. The public relations manager was completely speechless. If Xie Zheng really did as he said, then the company would be in big trouble. Xiao Keshuan's scandal could be considered as a major scandal that would severely affect the company. The PR manager glanced at President Xie awkwardly. President Xie, I didn't know that this would happen so suddenly. Fortunately, you chose Lin Yan. President Xie is wise and brilliant. President Xie, you have a good eye. Chapter 1305. The assistant tried to smooth things over. The manager had good intentions. After all, no one had expected the situation to change so quickly. Fortunately, President Xie had the foresight to send the contract to Lin Yan in advance. Xie Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that Lin Yan was fine. However, Pei Yutong's sudden change in attitude seemed a little unusual. Sister Yan, look at the news online. Third young master has clarified everything. After Lin Yan's interview, Duo told her what had happened. Pei Yutong had acted quickly. Lin Yan skimmed through Pei Yutong's Weibo post and the trending news. Pei Yutong looked as though he was eager to be praised. If he had a tail, it would be wagging its tail furiously. Daddy, what do you think? Are you satisfied? Pei Yutong grinned sheepishly. Lin Yan glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. Did you write this yourself? This wasn't Pei Yutong's style at all. Pei Yutong replied promptly. Of course I wrote it. The corners of Duoduo's mouth twitched, but she didn't dare expose him. Lin Yan merely glanced at him, before she continued scrolling through Weibo. A second later, Lin Yan saw another version of Pei Yutong's post. Pei Yutong, I have nothing to do with Xiao Keshuan. We were just friends in the past, but she spent money to buy a job and created rumors about us. She made use of my relationship to bully others. Most importantly, she even bullied my father. Don't blame me for being merciless. The netizens were laughing hysterically. Ha 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 ha. I'm dying of laughter. Quick look. This is the first version of Pei Yutong's post. He deleted it in seconds and replaced it with the official version. Summit Entertainment must have asked him to delete it and repost it. I suddenly find Pei Yutong so adorable. However, I'm more concerned about who Pei Yutong's father is. Everyone knows that Xiao Keshuan bullied Lin Yan. Could Pei Yutong's father be Lin Yan? What the f***ck? What is Pei Yutong's relationship with Lin Yan? How could Pei Yutong call her father? Could it be that they were a couple instead? Is that why Pei Yutong defended his girlfriend? Isn't the hole in your brain a little too big? Who calls their girlfriend daddy? I heard that Lin Yan is also a professional racer. She has helped Pei Yutong win a competition once, so they are close. Lin Yan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot as she read his original announcement. She shouldn't have had any hopes for this kid. Although Zhao Hongling discovered it early and asked him to delete it and repost it, some netizens still took screenshots. Pei Yutong glanced at Lin Yan's phone screen and retreated to a safe distance. Then he said meekly, "Your manager helped me edit it, but it's more or less the same." Lin Yan was speechless. "Almost my ass. How is it almost enough?" Zhao Hongling walked in after sending the reporters off. "It's not a big problem. I've already arranged for the public relations department to control the comments. According to your previous explanation, just say that it's because you helped him win a match." Lin Yan glanced at Zhao Hongling gratefully. "Sister Ling, thank you for your hard work." Fortunately, Zhao Hongling was watching them. Otherwise, he didn't know what the netizens would think. Suddenly Lin Yan's phone rang. It was Xiezheng. Pei Yutong saw a man's name and hurriedly asked, "Daddy, who is Xiezheng?" Lin Yan replied, "Your grandfather." Pei Yutong was speechless. Chapter 1306. Isn't your father's surname Lin? Pei Yutong looked puzzled. Lin Yan rolled her eyes at him. "He divorced my mother a long time ago. He is my future father." Lin Yan answered the call. "Hello, Uncle Xia. What's up?" Lin Yan, "Nothing. I just saw your company's official Weibo post. Have you settled everything? Is there anything I can help you with?" Xiezheng asked with concern. Lin Yan replied, "It's fine. Don't worry, Uncle Xia. I'm glad you're fine. There are rumors online that you and Pei Yutong." Xiezheng sounded hesitant, as though he wasn't sure if he should continue. "Lin Yan, I'm in no position to say this, but this industry is complicated. You have to protect yourself, okay? If you need anything, you have to tell me." Lin Yan knew that Xiezheng had misunderstood. Did he think that Pei Yutong had slept with her? She was about to speak when Pei Yutong, who had been eavesdropping, whispered, "Grandfather, don't misunderstand. Lin Yan and I are just father and son. Besides, she is my sister-in-law. You can shut up now." Lin Yan pushed his head away, as he had almost blurted out the truth. Xiezheng sounded awkward. "Is third young master next to you?" "Ahem. Uncle Xia, please don't mind him. He's just messing around. Don't worry, it's not what you think," Lin Yan replied. Xiezheng listened to their conversation and realized that it wasn't as the rumors had said. Lin Yan didn't seem to have been bullied, so he relaxed. After hanging up, Lu Jingli began to gossip. "Who is Xiezheng?" "He's my mom's university classmate. He's a good guy and has liked my mom for many years. He's trying to woo her, but his EQ is too low, so he hasn't been able to win her heart." Lin Yan sighed. "If he's a good guy, why didn't you matchmake him? You could have made him your girlfriend." Pei Yutong was curious. Lin Yan rolled her eyes at him. "Do you think I didn't want to? My EQ is too low. I can't make him my girlfriend." Pei Yutong looked incredulous. "Don't be so humble. Your EQ is too low. How did you manage to woo my brother? Do you know how hard it is to woo him? I don't think you'd be able to woo him." Lin Yan was speechless. This really had nothing to do with her. She wasn't the one who chased after him. "Oh, that's right. Daddy, I invested 1,000,000 yuan this time. Can you give our team an advertisement spot?" Pei Yutong asked meekly. Lin Yan glanced at him. "Advertisement? What kind of advertisement do you want? I can change Aurora's logo to Storm's logo. Do you think I can change it to Storm?" Pei Yutong's eyes lit up. "That's not impossible." "Hee hee," Lin Yan sneered coldly. "What are you thinking? You must be dreaming. Do you think you're offering 10 billion? Pei Yutong was speechless. "If I give you 10 billion yuan, can you really change the team logo?" Lin Yan glanced at the naughty kid and said reluctantly, "However, I can print your WeChat QR code on the back of my uniform to help you get married." Pei Yutong's face turned green when he heard her. He tried to avoid her. There's no need for that." Chapter 1307. At the same time, at the Lin family, Lin Yuetong, Lin Shuya, Lin Yuetong's new lover, Ma Manru, and He Shanshan were having dinner together. They had been talking about how Lin Yin was about to be banned from the entertainment industry. Lin Yuetong had flown into a rage and accused Lin Yin of offending people and causing trouble. However, halfway through the meal, the situation had changed. Lin Shuya had been in disbelief when she read Summit Entertainment's announcement. She had been trying to get close to Xiao Keshuan recently, and Xiao Keshuan and Lin Yin were like fire and water. Xiao Keshuan had hardened her heart to deal with Lin Yin. Initially, things had gone according to her plan. Xiao Keshuan had finally decided to ban Lin Yin at Summit Entertainment's anniversary dinner. However, she had never imagined that things would turn out this way. How could Lin Yin possibly know someone like Pei Yutong? Their relationship was even deeper than Xiao Keshuan's. Pei Yutong hadn't given Xiao Keshuan any face this time. His Weibo post had practically banned Xiao Keshuan from the entertainment industry. No way. How could that be possible? Yi Shanshan's eyes widened in shock. Is this fake news? It must be fake. However, she had confirmed with Lin Shuya several times that the news was true. Moreover, it wasn't just on the internet. Her friends and WeChat groups were all talking about it. Third young master had exposed Xiao Keshuan's identity as a fake young mistress. Furthermore, he had a close relationship with Lin Yin. He had even addressed Lin Yin as daddy. Even Ma Monru, who didn't know much about the entertainment industry, was taken aback. How could Lin Yin know someone like Pei Yutong? Yi Shanshan's face was filled with disdain. I heard that Lin Yin hooked up with Pei Yutong because of racing. What racing? Given Lin Yan's mediocre racing skills, she must have used some underhanded methods. How could she address him as daddy? How shameless. Lin Yuetong smashed his cup on the floor. This child is getting more and more out of hand with He Muyun. She doesn't look like a lady at all. How dare she try to impress others by racing? She doesn't even look like a girl. Of course. She's probably jealous of Shuya. She does whatever she wants, but how can she compare to Shuya? Shuya is the major shareholder of the He family team, and an honorary member of the ZF team, said He Shanshan. Ma Monru exchanged a look with Lin Shuya before she said, Yuetong, don't be angry. Don't let it affect your health. Shuya is here. She's so obedient and outstanding. Unfortunately, he was almost ruined by Lin Yin. His career is in shambles now. Lin Yuetong snorted coldly. She wants to ruin Shuya? She's too naive. Shuya is my daughter. Shuya, don't worry. I've already made the arrangements. Next month, you'll be the vice president of Triumph Entertainment. You don't have to work so hard in the entertainment industry. I'm worried about a girl like you. Thank you, Dad. Lin Shuya was touched as she glanced at Ma Monru gratefully. Lin Yuetong's expression softened as he looked at Lin Shuya. How's your relationship with Yishuan? He asked tactfully. Why doesn't he come over for dinner? Lin Shuya recalled Han Yishuan's cold attitude toward her recently. She couldn't keep her cool. Dad, Brother Yishuan has been too busy lately. Uncle Han has been relying on him a lot. He has almost handed over the entire company to him, including the overseas business. He has been swamped recently. As his girlfriend, I can't distract him. I'll bring him home for dinner after he's done with his work. Lin Yuetong was pleased to hear this. It's fine. A man should prioritize his career. Shuya, it's a good thing that you care about him. However, you can't always let him do as he pleases. Your marriage can't be delayed any longer. Lin Shuya forced a smile and pretended to be shy. Dad, I know. Chapter 1308. On account of Pei Yuqing's sincere apology, Lin Yin reluctantly accepted the $1,000,000. She didn't complain to Pei Yuqing. When she returned to the villa after the banquet, Xiaoli and Pei Yuqing were still awake. Lin Yin frowned and glanced at the little fellow on the couch. Xiaoli, why aren't you sleeping yet? You're still growing. Lin Yin glared at Pei Yuqing angrily. Why didn't you let the child rest earlier? Lin Yin realized that something was amiss and retorted angrily. Wait a minute. Why aren't you sleeping? Didn't I tell you to sleep early and wake up early? You've just recovered. The father and son turned to Lin Yin at the same time. Pei Li was wearing the furry pajamas that Lin Yin had bought for him. His sleepy eyes made him look especially pitiful. He looked aggrieved as he whined. But Xiaoli wanted to wait for sister to come back. Pei Yuqing wasn't wearing his glasses, so his expression was gentler than usual. Me too. Lin Yan couldn't stand the two pairs of eyes staring at her. Air. In the end, Lin Yan slapped her forehead helplessly. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I came back too late. I won't make you wait so late next time. Lin Yan didn't feel sleepy at all even after she coaxed Xiaoli to sleep. Pei Yuqing put down the fairy tale book and glanced at the girl beside him. What's wrong? Did something happen to you? Lin Yan shook her head. It's not me. It's my uncle. Do you know the boss of the Xie Corporation, Xiezheng? Pei Yuqing nodded. I've heard of him. Why? He's a nice guy. Recently, he has been wooing my mother, but he hasn't been able to win her heart. It's rare for my mother to meet a good man, so I'm really worried about them. I hope that my mother can try to get close to Xiezheng and find her own happiness. She shouldn't be immersed in the past. However, I've tried to help her a few times, but to no avail. I really can't think of any good ideas. Lin Yan's eyes sparkled as she stared at Pei Yuqing. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you for advice. Do you have any good ideas? Pei Yuqing raised his eyebrows. Why did you ask me for advice? Because I think that you have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. Lin Yan said meaningfully. Pei Yuqing chuckled softly. Thanks for the compliment. Lin Yan was speechless. He wasn't complimenting her. How did you help? Asked Pei Yuqing. Lin Yan mulled it over. Before? Once, I saw Uncle Xie pacing around my mom's building for a long time. But he didn't dare to go up, so I invited him in. Then, my mom said it was too late, and it wasn't convenient for him to go up. He didn't even try to argue with my mom, and he immediately said it was too late. I was so angry that I had to think of another way. I told my mother that Uncle Xie had hurt his leg while trying to help her catch a thief. I asked him to come in and let my mother help him apply some medicine. My mom was a soft-hearted person and didn't like to owe others favors, so she invited him up. He did go in, but Uncle Xie was too honest. He insisted that his leg injury had healed and refused to stay any longer. Pei Yuqing listened intently to the girl. And then, Lin Yan replied, I had no choice but to kick him. That way he wouldn't be lying. Pei Yuqing was speechless. This sounded like something she would do. End of this chapter. Chapter 1309. I left so that they could be alone. However, Uncle Xie came out shortly after. He said that he was afraid that my mother would feel uncomfortable if they were alone. Lin Yan sighed heavily. I can't bring him along. Actually, the biggest problem isn't Xiezheng. It's your mother, said Pei Yuqing. My mother? Lin Yan pondered for a moment. That's true. My mother has always felt that if she hadn't insisted on marrying Lin Yuetong, she wouldn't have let a wolf into her house. Grandfather's business would have been snatched away, and he wouldn't have lost his only car. Now that Lin Shuya and eldest uncle have the car, grandfather is still hospitalized because of his anger. However, this won't be a big problem very soon. I will help grandfather fulfill his dream. Pei Yuqing was a little dazed by the girl's confident gaze. No matter what price she had to pay, he hoped that she could continue to be so confident and dazzling. Okay. Pei Yuqing nodded and added. Other than that, you have to give your mother the motivation to start a new life. Lin Yan looked as though she was about to take out her notebook to take notes. She asked hurriedly, how can I make my mother want to start a new life and accept Uncle Xiezheng? This was the problem she had always wanted to solve. The key to this motivation is you, said Pei Yuqing. Me? Lin Yan was puzzled. Pei Yuqing pondered for a moment before he suggested. The next time you meet your mother, you can tell her this. You can tell her that you attended a friend's wedding, when you saw her being held by her father and handed over to the man who was going to be her partner for the rest of her life. You were touched. Lin Yan pondered this for a moment. That's it. What else? You don't have to say anything else. You just have to make it clear that your mother will naturally think about it. She wants her daughter to have a complete wedding. Based on Lin Yuetong's actions, you and her won't let him attend your wedding. Your mother might even think of finding another partner for you, said Pei Yuqing. Lin Yan gasped in amazement at his words. That works too. Although she did it for you, she still has a chance as long as she's willing to give it a try. Otherwise, she might never be able to get over this hurdle. I've heard of Xiezheng. He has a good reputation in the industry. He's a suitable candidate to spend the rest of his life with, Pei Yuqing analyzed. Lin Yan felt as though she had opened a door to a whole new world. Baby, you're amazing. Pei Yuqing's eyes darkened. What did you call me? Lin Yan coughed violently. Ahem. Sorry. I was too agitated. Lin Yan suddenly thought of something. Hold on. I have a question. Pei Yuqing asked. What? I told my mom that I already have a boyfriend. If I tell her this, what if she thinks that I'm getting married, and asks me when I plan to get married? How should I answer her? Lin Yan glanced at Pei Yuqing inquisitively. Pei Yuqing stared at the girl silently for a moment before he asked. Yeah, Miss Lin. When are we getting married? Lin Yan was speechless. What was going on? Hadn't she come to ask Pei Yuqing how to help Xiezheng? Why did she feel like she had been tricked again? Today's dog food has been prepared. Happy Valentine's Day, babies. A Valentine's Day without dog food is soulless. End of this chapter. Chapter 13:10. Pei Yuqing gazed at the girl's confused expression and said gently, Don't be nervous. If you want to get married one day, just let me know. Although he had suppressed all his instincts so that she wouldn't be afraid of him, he didn't dare to be too hasty or overstep his boundaries. Because of Pei Yuqing's words, she couldn't fall asleep that night. She only felt sleepy in the wee hours of the morning. Shortly after she fell asleep, Pei Li, who was lying in the middle of the bed, opened his eyes slowly. The little fellow's eyes were filled with disdain as he glanced at the man beside him. Shameless, Pei Yuqing didn't open his eyes. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. Why? Pei Li suppressed his anger. Why did you force Mom to marry you? The man replied calmly. I remember that your Chinese is good. I didn't mean to force you. Your mother and I registered our marriage 3 years ago. She lost her memory, so I gave her a chance to choose again. This is respect, not coercion. Pei Li's voice was cold. After losing her memory, Mom didn't know that she was married to you. If Mom rejected you, would you divorce her? Pei Yuqing replied, Of course not. Pei Li was infuriated by Pei Yuqing's matter-of-fact tone. Hypocrite, Pei Yuqing replied. I said I wouldn't because it's impossible. Pei Li replied, You're too conceited. Are you so sure that Mom won't fall in love with someone else? Pei Yuqing chuckled softly and opened his eyes in the dark. Is the person you're referring to Xiao Yao? Pei Yuqing obviously didn't think much of Xiao Yao. He seemed to be mocking him for overestimating himself. Pei Li wanted to retort, but at the thought of Xiao Yao's low EQ, he couldn't say anything. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have placed all his chips on Xiao Yao. What about Pei Nanxiu? From what I know, Mom likes him very much. Pei Li emphasized the words very much. Pei Yuqing raised an eyebrow. Nanxiu? You can try. Pei Yuqing's meaning was obvious. Pei Nanxiu didn't have the guts. Pei Li frowned. If you're really confident, you should compete fairly. Pei Yuqing chuckled. Fair? There's no such thing as fairness in this world. Moreover, do you think you're sitting in this position for the sake of fair competition? Pei Li forcefully suppressed the anger and displeasure in his heart. Pei Yuqing had the upper hand now, but he wasn't flawless. A leopard never changes its spots. He absolutely did not believe that he could disguise himself forever. The next day, Lin Yin made a trip to He Muyin's place. She tried to talk to He Muyin, as Pei Yuqing had taught her the night before. He Muyin's expression froze for a long time. She did not know if it was because of her words, but she remained silent for a long time. He Muyin tugged at Lin Yan's hand. Xiaoyan, I'm sorry. I've let you down. My greatest wish was to give you a happy family and let you grow up happily and carefreely. However, I failed. Instead, I made you suffer so much. Lin Yin glanced at her mother's remorseful expression and hurriedly consoled her. Mom, why did you say that? This isn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Lin Yuetong was the one who did the wrong thing, not you. You shouldn't blame others' mistakes on yourself and punish yourself. Chapter 13:11. He Muyin shook her head and sighed. Xiaoyan, you don't understand. It's my fault. If I hadn't been greedy. Back then, she had been infatuated with Lin Yuetong, and had run away from home because of her father's opposition. By chance, she had discovered her special evolved ability and had almost been captured by the hunters. The Mu family had saved her. Later, she had failed to evolve and degenerated into an ordinary person. She had left the Mu family. Before long, Mu Yang had brought Mu Yan to her and asked her to help hide Mu Yan's identity. Although she had wanted to help hide Lin Yan's identity, she had her own selfish motives. She had lied that Lin Yan was her and Lin Yuetong's daughter, and forced her father to agree to her being with Lin Yuetong. Her stubbornness and mistake had caused all the tragedies that had followed. Not only had she implicated her father, but she had also failed to live up to Sir Mu Yang's trust, and harmed Miss Mu Yan. Xiaoyan, you don't have to persuade me. I've thought things through. I will start afresh and I will try to get in touch with suitable people. You don't have to worry about me. He Mu Yan inhaled deeply. She had already made a mistake, so she couldn't continue. She wanted to give Lin Yan a happy life and a perfect family. She had no idea what had happened that had made Mu Yang and Mu Yan flee for so long. What force had wanted Mu Yan's life? What force could be so powerful that even the Mu family couldn't protect Mu Yan? No matter what, she could only continue to hide Mu Yan's identity. She couldn't let her be exposed. Lin Yan heaved a sigh of relief when she heard He Mu Yan. Mom, it's great that you think that way. However, she did not know if it was an illusion, but she felt that He Mu Yan was hesitant to speak, as though there was something she was hiding. After leaving He Mu Yan's place, Lin Yan went to the team. The international competition was around the corner, and the racing team had gathered all the captains for a meeting. There were 4 teams representing the country at the 3rd level of the international competition. One of them was the Huafeng team, which had been formed by the racing team of the country's top racers. There were also 2 teams that had been confirmed to participate, Thunderous Sound team and Speed of Light team. Other than them, Lin Yan's Aurora team had also landed. Goddess, didn't you have a meeting today? Why are you so late? It's almost time. Let's go. Mo Shuyan hurried Lin Yan. Lin Yan blinked. Can't the captain and vice captain attend the meeting today? You should go with Qi Feng. What am I going to do? I still have to train Yun Xian. Mo Shuyan was speechless and Qi Feng, who was behind him, was also helpless. The two of them looked at each other before Qi Feng said, It's true that the captain and deputy captain of our team are me and Captain Mo, but you're the chief captain of the Chinese team. How can you not attend? Lin Yan was dumbfounded. Captain, when did I become the chief captain of the Hua national team? Mo Xian's face darkened. Goddess, can't you focus on other things besides making money? Last time at the Hua Nation Racing Guild, the president personally announced that Aurora would be participating in the 3rd level of the international championship and appointed you as the captain. Lin Yan was speechless. At this point, Lin Yan finally recalled something. There seemed to be such a thing. Chapter 13:12. At the time, she had been ostracized by Su Kai, so she could only be Qi Feng's navigator and enter the 2nd team. Later on, Vice President Avis had discovered her identity, and she had accidentally been exposed. Hence, not only had the association allowed her to form her own Aurora team, but they had also appointed her as the captain of all the teams under the association. The teams under the association didn't have a captain. They were all under the direct control of the association's higher-ups. Hence, almost everyone had objected to this. Although this had been personally appointed by the president, no one else could object. However, everyone had made up their minds not to give in to Lin Yan. Right now, Lin Yan's position as the captain was akin to a decoration. Mo Shuyan reminded her worriedly. Goddess, I'm sure those people won't listen to your management. Not to mention the Thunderous Sound racing team and the Speed of Light racing team. These 2 teams don't even care about the higher-ups of the China Racing Union, let alone a captain. Lin Yan shrugged. It doesn't matter. If they don't want me to manage them, I'll manage my own team. At the association, by the time Lin Yan arrived, almost everyone had arrived. President Qi, Vice President Li, and the 3 directors were seated in the front row. Li Jing, the captain of the 1st team, and Xiao Liang, the vice-captain of the second team, Zhang Hao and Su Kai. The captain of the Speed of Light team, Tang Sheng, and Zhu Chongliang were seated around them. Every captain's nameplate was placed on the long table, and everyone sat down according to their names. Mo Shuyan and Qi Feng sat next to the two captains of the first team. After they were seated, there were only 3 empty seats left. The first and second empty seats on the right side of the long table were occupied by Sonic Thunder's captain, Ling Yang, and his vice-captain He Ziji. The name on the first empty seat on the left side of the long table read, Lin Yen, the captain of the association. Instantly, everyone's eyes landed on Lin Yen and the empty seat. Had the association gone mad? How could they allow her to sit on the same level as the captain of the Sonic Thunder team, Ling Yang? Even the captains of the top racers in the country wouldn't dare claim that they had the right to do so. How could an ordinary racer, who had only been established for a few months, have the right to do so? Su Kai, who was seated at the end of the row, looked gloomy. She had worked so hard and used her uncle's connections to get a position as the vice-captain of Team 2. Lin Yen, on the other hand, was a newbie with no experience. She had only achieved 1 or 2 results in the country and had never participated in the 3rd level of the international competition. How could she be the captain of a team? This was ridiculous. They hadn't dared to go against President Qi's opinion before. But now, the Thunderous Sound Racing team and the Hyperdrive Racing team were both here. How could these 2 elite teams obey such a ridiculous arrangement? Making Lin Yen their leader would be akin to slapping their faces. Especially Lin Yang's arrogant and domineering character. She wanted to see how Lin Yen was going to deal with this mess. In the main seat, President Qi said, "Most people are here, right? Let's start the meeting." Vice President Li coughed softly. "President, the 2 captains of the Sonic Thunder team aren't here yet." President Qi frowned slightly, as though he was displeased. However, he suppressed his emotions and said, "Let's wait a little longer then." End of this chapter. Chapter 13:13. Everyone in the room waited for another half an hour. Vice President Li had to rush them several times along the way before the 2 captains of the Lane Racing team finally arrived. He Ziji, the vice-captain of Lane Racing team, was rather polite. He first greeted the higher-ups of several unions before apologizing. "Sorry, I'm late for training." A director smiled and said, It's fine. Training is more important. Please take a seat." In contrast, Captain Ling Yang's attitude wasn't as good. After entering, he didn't even greet anyone. Without looking at anyone, he directly sat down on the first seat on the right. He spread his legs and sat there boldly. His expression was slightly impatient. "Isn't there a meeting? Let's start. I'm in a hurry." He was the one who was late and had delayed so many people's time. Yet he looked impatient and affected. However, no one dared to question him. Vice President Li tried to smooth things over in a good mood. Yes. The competition is about to start. We can't delay training. Since everyone is here, let's start." President Qi coughed lightly and said, "We'll draw lots tomorrow, and the competition will start the day after tomorrow. The 3rd level of the international competition is around the corner. This time, there are 3 teams from China participating: Lane Racing Team, Speed of Light Racing Team, and Huafeng Team. The second team is Huafeng's substitute. Let me introduce the captains of these teams." Before he could finish, Ling Yang interrupted him. "There's no need to waste time, President Qi." Everyone present was used to Ling Yang's condescending attitude. Everyone looked down, and no one dared to question him. Even the 2 captains of the Speed of Light Racing Team did not want to argue with him. At most, they frowned in dissatisfaction. Ling Yang was the strongest racer in China's racing circle. Even though he had retired for more than half a year, his record was still unsurpassed. Moreover, he had produced very dazzling results in the training competition as soon as he returned. For a talented racer like Ling Yang, it was really a blessing from the heavens. This was also why he dared to be so fearless. He had not done well the previous few times, because he wanted to relax. As long as he was serious, he could return to his peak. As for the other racers who were just accompanying him, he naturally did not care about them. He did not want to waste time on them. Even President Qi had to give Ling Yang some face. He took a deep breath and said, "The others are all old members of the circle. Everyone basically knows each other, so I won't say anything more." President Qi glanced at Lin Yan. "Let me introduce the captain of the team, Miss Lin. She'll be fully responsible for formulating strategies for all the participating teams in the International League." Ling Yang's gaze finally landed on Lin Yan, as though he was doing her a favor. He raised his eyebrows slightly and scanned her with his light gray eyes. "Chief Captain?" Seeing this, Su Kai's eyes lit up, and she hurriedly said, "Captain Ling, it's no wonder you don't know. The position of Chief Captain was just established this year." Ling Yang scanned Lin Yan's body brazenly. "You look unfamiliar. I've never seen you at the competition." Su Kai smiled and said, "Captain Ling, she hasn't participated in the International League." Ling Yang narrowed his eyes at Lin Yan. "You haven't participated in the third level before?" Lin Yan didn't deny it. "I've never participated." Chapter 13-14. She had participated in the second level of the international competition. Indeed, she had never participated in the third level. She had given the opportunity to the newcomers and apprentices in the team so that they could train. Vice President Li hurriedly said, "Although Miss Lin hasn't participated in the third level of the international competition, she has rich experience and is very forward-looking. She is especially accurate when it comes to making complicated decisions. She can provide us with constructive suggestions in terms of strategy." Vice President Li glanced at Lin Yan expectantly. "Why don't we listen to Captain Lin's opinion on this competition?" Su Kai stood up for the first time when she heard that. She looked incredulous. "Vice President Li, you must let this person, who has never participated in the third level of the international competition, be the captain. We can't stop her. However, you can't lie through your teeth, can you? A newcomer, who has never participated in the third level of the international competition, is experienced and forward-looking? Then what do you think of Captain Ling?" Ling Yang frowned as a cold glint flitted across his eyes. The other captains had no intention of stopping Su Kai. Anyone present would be more experienced than Lin Yan, let alone Ling Yang. Zhang Hao, the captain of Team 2, chimed in coldly. "Forgive me for being blunt, but we have been holding back for a long time. I believe that everyone has the same thoughts as Su Kai and I. If I remember correctly, the highest competition that Captain Lin has ever participated in was the ranking competition in the country. It's already very difficult for her to qualify for the third level of the international competition. I wonder what kind of constructive suggestions he can give us with such a person as the chief commander?" Chi Feng couldn't help but interject when the two captains of Team 2 attacked Lin Yan. "Captain Lin hasn't participated in the international competition, but she beat you." Zhang Hao's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Losing to Lin Yan was the biggest stain on his racing career. "That was just an accident," Zhang Hao replied coldly. "Accident? Captain Zhang, are you going to admit to those rumors? Are you going to admit that you deliberately lost to Team Lin?" Lin Yan had won the competition for the He family team against Zhang Hao, which had shocked the entire racing industry. At the time, many people had said that Lin Yan had used some tricks to bribe WW to fix the competition. It wasn't until Lin Yan had defeated Chi Feng during the ranking competition that the rumors had died down. Zhang Hao naturally could not admit that he had rigged the match. He straightened his neck and said, "Chi Feng, don't slander me." Chi Feng shrugged. "Captain Zhang, since you didn't rig the competition, you lost to our Captain Lin. A loss is a loss. Being bad in the racing circle is a sin. You have no right to question Captain Lin's ability. What right do you have to speak?" Ling Yan glanced at Chi Feng in amazement. As expected of Chi Feng, he was the version of Lang Mang, who didn't use any profanities. His fighting power was indeed astonishing. Lin Yan was impressed by her own judgment. Although they had both lost to Lin Yan, Zhang Hao had flown into a rage out of humiliation after losing once. He had made all sorts of excuses to deny it, and looked down on female racers. Losing to female racers was a disgrace. Qi Feng's magnanimity crushed him. The two of them were not on the same level. Zhang Hao's face turned red. He was so angry that he could barely speak. Qi Feng, you shut up. What right do you have to say that about me? Didn't you also lose? Not only did you lose, but you also ran to be a woman's assistant without any backbone. Chapter 13-15. Qi Feng sneered coldly. Oh, you can't beat me in an argument, so you're trying to antagonize me? Are you discriminating against female racers? So what if she's a female racer? Yeva is a woman. Are you saying that you don't even care about Yeva? How dare you say that in front of her? Qi Feng, stop trying to change the topic. While the two of them were quarreling, Ling Yang lifted his long legs and slammed them on the table. Then he propped his legs on the table and said impatiently, "Shut up, both of you. I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. I'm also not interested in knowing how the captain was chosen. Everyone has to listen to me during this competition. If you don't want to, you can scram now." Ling Yang didn't even glance at Lin Yan. He didn't seek the opinion of any of the higher-ups. Su Kai, who was delighted, replied hurriedly, "If it's you, Captain Ling, I naturally have no objections. To be able to receive your guidance is an honor that many racers can only dream of." Zhang Hao suppressed his anger. "I have no objections either." The two captains of the Speed of Light team glanced at each other and remained silent. It was obvious that they didn't want to get involved in this matter. However, compared to Lin Yan, a new female racer, Ling Yang was indeed more qualified. They wouldn't look good if Lin Yan became the captain. Hence, the two captains of the Speed of Light team chose to acquiesce. President Qi and Vice President Li were naturally unwilling to hear this. They had put in a lot of effort to get Yeva to come out of retirement. Now, Yeva was willing to return to the Chinese team and fight for the country. She could even be the captain and guide them personally. This was something that they hadn't even dared to dream of. Vice President Li bolted to his feet agitatedly. "No, the captain is Miss Lin. Miss Lin should naturally be in charge." President Qi was about to speak as well. However, Lin Yan shook her head before he could speak. She gestured for the two presidents to stop talking. She had already expected this situation. Given her current status, she wouldn't be able to make these people submit to her, let alone the arrogant Ling Yang. Previously, the others hadn't dared to say anything because of President Qi. Now that Ling Yang had stepped forward, they naturally began to protest. If he forcefully suppressed it, it would be counterproductive. Vice President Li walked over to Lin Yan anxiously and whispered, "Miss Lin, don't worry. President, and I will think of a way to protect you. You can't just leave our team." Lin Yan replied, "Vice President Li, given my current status, they won't listen to me. The competition is imminent, and unity is more important than any strategy." This, Vice President Li hesitated. He had no choice but to listen to Lin Yan. "Miss Lin, please don't take it to heart." Vice President Li was trembling in fear. He was afraid that he would offend Lin Yan and cause her to withdraw from the competition. Lin Yan shot Vice President Li a reassuring look before she nodded at Ling Yang. "Captain Ling, please go ahead." Ling Yang shot a warning glance at Lin Yan and scanned the crowd. "I'll be frank. I won't allow anyone to drag me down during the international competition." Hence, Ling Yang presided over the meeting. Ling Yang analyzed the opponents and the problems of the Chinese team. Su Kai took out her notebook and recorded every word of Ling Yang's analysis. She looked like a little fangirl. End of this chapter. Chapter 13-16. Ling Yang glanced at Lin Yan meaningfully and added, "I've analyzed the 3 problems that we might encounter during a large-scale competition. There's one last problem that we need to pay attention to. It's the racer's ability to withstand pressure. Some racers perform well in training competitions and domestic competitions. They can even beat their old rivals, who have achieved good results in international competitions. However, Once they participate in a large-scale competition like the international competition, they will immediately reveal their true colors. They are just armchair strategists. Although Ling Yang didn't mention anyone, everyone knew that he was talking about Lin Yan. Instinctively, they turned to look at Lin Yan. Ling Yang had participated in countless competitions, so he thought that he was very accurate in judging people. I've seen many racers like her. I can tell at a glance whether they are real or not. Ling Yang sounded as though he had been through this before. His gaze was oppressive as he stared at Lin Yan. Lin Yan, right? You defeated Zhang Hao and Qi Feng, and you're a female racer. It's not bad that you achieved such results. However, you seem to have misunderstood the international competition. Only by entering the third level of the international competition can you be considered to have truly entered the world of racing. Before that, all the competitions are just child's play. As a racer, besides skills, you also need to have a strong mentality. If you can't handle the pressure, you won't be able to participate in international competitions. You will forever be a piece of trash. Qi Feng and Mo Xian's faces darkened when Ling Yang insulted Lin Yan in front of everyone. Lin Yan raised her eyebrows. The pressure of the third level of the international competition. Thank you for your reminder, Captain Ling. I will try my best to experience it. Ling Yang snorted coldly. Since you've learned from me, I shall give you a few more pointers, lest you embarrass the racing industry in the country. I watched the videos of your 2 competitions just now. There were too many problems. Do you really think that winning is enough? Lin Yan replied. Please enlighten me, Captain Ling. Ling Yang didn't stand on ceremony. He began to analyze Lin Yan's various inappropriate maneuvers and handling methods during the competition. He even used all sorts of profound terms. President Qi and Vice President Li exchanged a look as they listened to Ling Yang's incessant imparting of his experiences to Lin Yan. Their expressions were indescribable. How could he impart his racing experience to the racetrack's Grim Reaper, who had never won a single race? They simply didn't have the face to continue listening. However, they couldn't interrupt Ling Yang, and couldn't tell him the truth. They could only force themselves to listen to Ling Yang continue to assert his dominance. Ling Yang said that he only had half an hour, but in the end, the meeting lasted for 3 hours. Lin Yan was drowsy. She wanted to save time and get back to training, but out of respect, she forced herself to stay awake until the end. On the way out, Qi Feng and Mo Xian were worried about Lin Yan, afraid that she would be dealt a blow by Ling Yang. Actually, Qi Feng and Mo Xian were curious as well. Why had President Qi appointed Lin Yan as the captain? Even though thunderous sound and speed of light hadn't been confirmed at the time, and the Chinese team was too weak, there were many racers who were more experienced than Lin Yan. Why would Lin Yan be the captain? They guessed that Lin Yan's performances had been too stunning. It had been a long time since the racing industry had seen such a surprising new blood. Qi Feng deliberated over his words and comforted her carefully. Lin Yan, don't listen to Ling Yang completely. What he said is true, but not everyone has stage fright and can't withstand the pressure. I believe in you. Mo Xian said, That's right. Goddess, don't be nervous. We all support you. Even if you make any mistakes, there's still us. Lin Yan was speechless. Thank you for your comfort. Nervous. Ever since her dictionary had been created, she hadn't thought of this word at all. The update has ended. My babies have been waiting for a long time. P.S. The long reviews and original doujinshi activities in the book review section have ended. Dear winners, please join the prize group. Group ID 439909781. End of this chapter. Chapter 13:17. When she reached the parking lot, Lin Yan suddenly received a notification that her dashcam had been repaired. Ever since she had escaped from the Hunters Guild's prison, Lin Yan had been wanting to check the dashcam. However, her car had been left in the Hunters Guild's prison, and there seemed to be something wrong with the dashcam. She hadn't been able to download the data, so she had spent money to hire a professional to repair it. Captain Mo Qi Feng, go to the training ground first. I have something to do here, said Lin Yan. All right, goddess. We'll head over first. After Qi Feng and Imo Shuyan left, Lin Yan frowned as she watched the contents of the surveillance video. An unfamiliar man had appeared outside the car and was sizing it up through the window. From the angle of the video, the man should be sizing her up, who had fallen asleep in the driver's seat. The strange man took out a dagger and quickly disappeared from the surveillance range of the dashcam. A second later, the sound of a car door being pulled open could be heard. Lin Yan didn't know who this unfamiliar man was. She had never seen him before, but his motive was clear. He wanted her life. Lin Yan had always thought that the Hunters Guild had used some shameless method to make her fall asleep in the car. However, it seemed like it had been done by this unfamiliar man. A few seconds later, a sneer was heard. A woman could be seen from the camera. Lin Yan stared intently, as though she had seen a ghost. This woman didn't look like her at all. There was no difference at all. If she had to distinguish the difference, she could only judge from her expression and gaze. The woman's gaze was different from Lin Yan's. Her eyes were cold, and one look at them would make one's heart palpitate. Huh? What do you want to do to my sister? The woman glanced at the blind spot of the camera and sneered coldly. You're the leader of death, the she-devil. The man's hoarse voice came from the blind spot. The woman grinned and replied, I don't like the title of she-devil. I really didn't expect that the high and mighty Miss Mu Yu of the Mu family would actually become the leader of death. How ironic. Since we are both members of the Mu family and you, Miss Mu Yu, also hate Mu Yen, don't get in my way. The man laughed sinisterly. Is this the internal struggle of the Mu family? Mother knows that Mu Yen is still alive and has sent people to search everywhere. If they find Mu Yen, then there's a high probability that the Mu family will be handed over to Mu Yen. Why, some of the elders in the Mu family are anxious and found Mu Yen first. They hid her whereabouts from Mother and wanted to get rid of her first. The woman smiled faintly. Eldest Miss Mu Yu, although you haven't been in the Mu family all these years, you are more well-informed than anyone else. That year, Mu Yen caused you to be in such a miserable state. I believe that Miss Mu Yu hates her more than anyone else, so I believe that Miss Mu Yu will not stop me from getting rid of her, right? The man smiled. Hearing this, the woman's laughter became even more intense. Of course, in this world, I hate my damned sister more than anyone else. Just as she finished speaking, the smile on Mu Yu's face suddenly disappeared and was replaced by a frosty coldness. My sister isn't someone you Tom, Dick, and Harry can point fingers at. Even if she's going to die, she'll die by my hands. The woman disappeared from view after she spoke. End of this chapter. Chapter 13:18. Very quickly, sounds of fighting could be heard. A moment later, the man's terrified voice could be heard. Miss Mu Yu, why did you do this? Have you forgotten, that year? It was because of Mistress favoritism, Mistress and Mu Yen. You became Miss Mu Yan's scapegoat. They wanted to kill you. The woman's cold voice was laced with a sickly smile. Don't try to figure out what I'm thinking. Lin Yan watched as the man's body flew out of the room. Soon, the woman got into the car and drove to the Hunters Guild's prison. In the car, the woman seemed to have made a long-distance call. Lin Nua, I'm bringing someone to your place. You'll know when you get there. It's the sister you miss so much. At this point, the video was cut off, leaving behind only a snowflake. Lin Yan's expression was a little strange. There was too much information in the dashcam, so much that she found it hard to digest and accept. Sister, the Mu family, her brother. Lin Yan didn't know how to connect all these things to her. This wasn't the first time that her surname had been mentioned in her life. Could her surname really not be Lin? And that demoness? How could she say that she was her sister? In terms of appearance, she and that she-devil were indeed like twins. They looked exactly the same. If she wasn't Lin Yan, who was she? Lin Yan had never doubted her identity. Her father was Lin Yuetong, and her mother was He Muyin. She also had a younger brother named Lin Nua, whom the demoness had mentioned in the video. So her younger brother Lin Nua hadn't died and was related to the demoness? Back then, she and her younger brother had been captured in the laboratory and had lived an extremely difficult life. From the looks of it, that laboratory was most likely the Demoness laboratory. However, based on their ages, the Demoness was about the same as her. Could it be that the Demoness had already had her own evolved being at such a young age? Had she and her younger brother been captured in the laboratory on purpose? Or had it been a coincidence? Other than that, who was she? Lin Yin had memories of her childhood, but they were never complete. Lin Yin had never delved into this incomplete memory, because she had never suspected her own identity. It had been a long time, and she couldn't remember her childhood, so she didn't think that there was anything wrong with that. But today was different from the past, and there was a serious flaw in her identity. This was no longer just one person talking about her identity. Previously, there were people who treated her as a she-devil, as a younger sister. That was fine. But now, even a she-devil who looked exactly like her was saying that she was her younger sister. Putting everything else aside, the she-devil and her appearance were enough to explain the problem. There were some details about her parents that she remembered very clearly. Back then, his mother, He Muyin, and Lin Yuetong had become a couple, but they had broken up not long after because of their grandfather's objections. However, her mother, He Muyin, had been pregnant with her before they had broken up. After giving birth to her, her mother had raised her alone. In order to give him a complete family, his mother had brought him back to his father Lin Yuetong. Then, he had his younger sister Lin Shuya. Her father, Lin Yuetong, had even gone to an authoritative organization to do a paternity test. She was indeed his biological daughter. End of chapter. Chapter 13-19. The paternity test could prove the truth. Lin Yin believed that her mother wouldn't lie to her. However, Lin Yin couldn't recall any memories of He Muyin raising her alone. If she wasn't He Muyin and Lin Yuetong's child, who was she? Muyin? What was going on with the Mu family? Why had Muyin become Lin Yin and been raised by He Muyin? Why had He Muyin lied to her? Other than the information about her birth, what shocked her the most was the news about her brother. After so many years, she hadn't been able to find any clues. However, she had heard her brother's name in the video. She could even confirm that her brother was still alive. From the surveillance footage, it could be seen that someone in the Mu family did not want her to go back and take over as the head of the family, so they sent people to hunt her down. The she-devil saved her and threw her into the Hunters Guild's prison, allowing her to escape the hunt. Lin Nua, I'm bringing someone to your place. You'll know when you get there. It's the sister you miss so much. Based on this, she could deduce that Xiao Nua was in the Hunters Guild's prison. Why would Xiao Nua be there? However, she hadn't seen Xiao Nua. She had been so focused on leaving that she hadn't noticed anything else. Right now, Lin Yan's thoughts were in a mess. She couldn't understand what had happened to her. In the past, Lin Yan had never doubted her identity. However, she was having second thoughts now. Her mother, He Muyun, had doted on her. That love couldn't be fake. If it was fake, she wouldn't believe that He Muyin had any ulterior motives. However, if He Muyin wasn't her biological mother, what was going on? Had she been swapped at birth? Wouldn't it be too melodramatic if she had been swapped? This scene was already old and out of date. Half an hour later, Lin Yan arrived at He Muyin's place. He Muyin was cooking in the house. The sound of a cooking range and the aroma of meat wafted from the kitchen. Why did you buy so many things again? We have everything at home. He Muyin whispered softly to Lin Yan when she saw the bags Lin Yan had brought back. Mom, what are you cooking? It smells so good. Lin Yan's nose twitched as she glanced at the kitchen. Bean sprout braised pork belly, He Muyin said with a smile. When can we eat? I'll be done in a moment. He Muyin picked up a few pieces of meat and placed them in Lin Yan's bowl. Have you been busy with work recently? You should rest more. You've lost weight. Lin Yan stroked her chin and replied casually. As long as it's a biological mother, no matter how fat her children are, she would always tell them to eat more. You've lost weight. The two of them chatted for a long time before He Muyin suddenly said, Work is important, but you're not young anymore. Do you and your boyfriend have any plans to get married? If you have time, bring him home for me to see. Lin Yin coughed softly. Mom, we're still young. There's no rush. Besides, we have to have children after we get married. It's too scary. He Muyin glanced at her. Nonsense. When I gave birth to your sister and brother. Before He Muyin could finish, Lin Yin pursed her lips. Mom, you only have 2 children. Don't tell me you picked me up from the trash bin? Chapter 13:20. He Muyin pondered this for a moment before she grinned. It wasn't as easy as giving birth to your siblings. Why? Lin Yin pretended to ask casually. Back then, our family wasn't doing well, and life was tough. I didn't have money to go to the hospital when I gave birth to you, so I didn't dare let your grandfather know. He Muyin explained to Lin Yin. Lin Yin nodded slightly and cast a meaningful glance at He Muyin. Hence, the melodramatic plot that she had guessed wouldn't happen. Lin Yin had wondered if she had gotten the wrong baby at the hospital. Now it seemed like that wasn't the case. Her mother, He Muyin, had said that she had given birth at home and had hired a midwife. He Muyin had been caught off guard, so she had merely wanted to find an excuse to fool her. If Lin Yin had been careless, she might have believed her. However, this excuse might not work if she was testing the waters. At the very least, she was certain that she hadn't gotten the wrong baby at the hospital. Mom, I was delivered at home? Why didn't you tell me? Lin Yin pressed on. He Muyin paused for a moment before she replied calmly. What's there to say? Lin Yin didn't linger on this topic. Instead, she changed the topic. Mom, I might have news about my brother. He Muyin's smile froze when she heard Lin Yin. She grabbed Lin Yan's hand excitedly. You really have news about your brother? Lin Yin had indeed received news about her brother, Lin Nua. However, there were still many things that she needed to confirm. She had no idea what had happened to Lin Nua, what had happened to the Hunters Guild, and what was his relationship with the Demoness. However, someone had told her that the Demoness had colluded with the president of the Hunters Guild. In the last video of the driving recorder, it was the female devil who drove the unconscious him to the prison and contacted her brother Lin Nua. For a moment, Lin Yin had a conjecture. Could it be that Lin Nua had become a perfect test subject like Si-Bai in the Demonist laboratory? However, all of this was just Lin Yan's wishful thinking. She left He Muyin's place and hailed a cab to the hospital. First, she visited her grandfather, who was almost fully recovered. Then, she went to the medical laboratory and submitted He Muyin's hair. Scientific tests were the most direct way to determine whether he was really He Muyin's child. It was much more reliable than guessing by himself. Lin Yin felt that there were only a few possibilities. The first possibility was that he was indeed He Muyin's child and had met a bunch of lunatics. The Mu family's words were just the nonsense of lunatics. The second possibility was that he was still He Muyin's child, but his mother or father, Lin Yuetong, might have other identities. For example, they might be from the Mu family, and the Demoness might be their child. However, Lin Yin felt that these two possibilities were ridiculous and unrealistic. The last possibility was that she wasn't He Muyin and Lin Yuetong's child. Her mother might have adopted her and hadn't told her the truth. But no matter what the result was, they had to wait for the DNA test results. Otherwise, it would be pointless to think too much about it. Chapter 13:21. After leaving the hospital, Lin Yin contacted Si-Bai and asked him to have a meal. At first, Si-Bai had rejected her outright. In the end, Lin Yin had changed her mind and said that it had something to do with the Demoness. Si-Bai had finally agreed. To be honest, although there had been a misunderstanding between her and Si-Bai, Lin Yin felt apprehensive the moment she saw him. Fortunately, the misunderstanding had been cleared up. Si-Bai scrutinized Lin Yin intently. After a long time he said, Lin Nua. Lin Yin nodded. Yes, Lin Nua. Do you have any impression of her? I think so. Si-Bai fell silent for a moment before he answered. Lin Yin perked up when she heard Si-Bai. She grabbed his arm and asked, Can you tell me? Sibai stared at Lin Yan's right hand that was grabbing his arm and said expressionlessly, "Please behave yourself." Lin Yan let go of Sibai awkwardly and asked softly, "Can you tell me?" Sibai straightened his back and took a deep breath. "Actually, there's nothing that I can't say." Lin Yan was speechless. "Hurry up and tell me." "Of course. I don't know if the Lin Nua you mentioned is the same person I know. If that's the case, many years ago, Lin Nua and his sister were captured and imprisoned in a laboratory. I heard that Lin Nua's sister escaped, and Lin Nua became a perfect experimental subject. His whereabouts have since been unknown." Sibai glanced at Lin Yan. Without giving Lin Yan a chance to speak, Sibai gazed at Lin Yan thoughtfully. "Lin Nua. Lin Yan. Are you the girl who escaped from the laboratory?" Lin Yan was speechless. Sibai frowned when he noticed Lin Yan's silence. "Really?" Lin Yan had nothing to hide, so she nodded and admitted it. "Yes, it's me." Sibai stared at Lin Yan intently. "Are you sure?" Lin Yan was puzzled. "Why would I lie to you?" Lin Yan frowned slightly and glanced at Sibai guiltily. "Hold on. Are you one of the children who were locked up with us?" "What do you think?" asked Sibai. Lin Yan felt a pang of guilt. Lin Nua and Lin Yan hadn't been the only ones in the laboratory. Lin Yan remembered that there had been at least a dozen other people, ranging from 16 to 14 years old. During her time in the laboratory, Lin Yan had beaten up many people of her age and older than her. If Sibai was one of those children, would he have been beaten up by her? So did they have a grudge? "We don't have a feud." Sibai, it's fine if you've been beaten up by me before. Kids aren't sensible, so it's normal for them to fight. There's no need to take it to heart. It's been so many years, so we should be more open-minded. Lin Yan grinned at Sibai. Sibai rubbed his nose unconsciously as he listened to Lin Yan. "I was indeed beaten up by Lin Nua's sister." Lin Yan was speechless. There was a saying that went like this: "The world is narrow. It's just a beating." Lin Yan forced a smile. "I was beaten by Lin Nua's sister 13 times. Sibai stared at Lin Yan. The smile on Lin Yan's face froze when she heard Sibai. She had beaten Sibai 13 times in the laboratory? How was that possible? She had no recollection of it. If Sibai was telling the truth, how much did he deserve to be beaten up 13 times? Chapter 1322. It seems like your memory isn't that good. Sibai's face was expressionless. He took a sip of the coffee in his cup and said, "The first time was when I fought with Lin Nua. We were evenly matched, but you stepped in and kicked me to the ground. I broke a tooth." Lin Yan was speechless. "The second time was when the laboratory distributed snacks. After you and Lin Nua finished eating, you asked me for protection fees and asked me to give all my snacks to you. I didn't want to, so you hit me again and snatched my week's worth of snacks." The corners of Lin Yan's mouth curled up as she forced an unnatural smile. "Impossible. Am I that kind of person?" Sibai took a sip of coffee. "At least you were that kind of person at that time." Lin Yan was speechless. Sibai placed the cup on the table and stared at Lin Yan. "Not long after that, I met a few friends, and they came to seek revenge on you. We didn't fight, but you kicked me 7 or 8 times. You beat me up in the afternoon, and again in the evening." "Oh right. My friends were included." Lin Yan was speechless. Didn't he deserve it? How dare he form a group to take revenge? "That night, after you beat me up, you said something harsh to me," Sibai quipped. "What harsh words?" Lin Yan smiled guiltily. "You beat me up every time you saw me." Lin Yan frowned. Had she been that ruthless when she was young? "Although your flaws make me hate you, there is one thing I admire, said Sibai. Lin Yan straightened her back. "What's so good about it? You keep your promise. At least at that age, it's a rare and precious quality." Sibai stared at Lin Yan. Lin Yan heaved a sigh of relief when she heard Sibai. At least Sibai admired her. In that case, their relationship shouldn't be that bad. They had probably eased up. "Tell me about it." Lin Yan grinned. Sibai fell silent for a moment before he said, "Indeed, you beat me up every time you saw me." Lin Yan glanced at Sibai and didn't know what to say. She had never expected that she would keep her promise. "However, Lin Nua's sister also helped me. If you're really Lin Nua's sister, I won't mind the woman who hit me 13 times, said Sibai. Have I helped you before? Lin Yan asked curiously. At least when I was beaten up by others, you stood up for me. I don't know why, but maybe it's because you beat me up. Sibai said. Look, Lin Yan slammed the table. I knew it. We must have a childhood friendship. Friendship is out of the question, Sibai said. I can only say that no discord, no concord. You should remember how you escaped from the laboratory. How did you escape from the lab? Lin Yan pondered for a moment before she replied. I remember that there was a test subject who lost control of his evolved ability. I took advantage of the chaos and forced the little boy to cooperate with me. I stepped on his head and climbed over the wall. Yes. Sibai nodded. I'm the little boy whose head was stepped on by you. Without giving Lin Yan a chance to speak, Sibai added. Do you still remember? I asked you to pull me out. You pulled your brother Lin Nua up. When you were pulling me, you said that you didn't have any strength left. You broke another tooth. Lin Yan glanced at Sibai sympathetically. You're really unlucky. Lin Yan hadn't expected Sibai to have such a bitter history. I was unlucky after I met you and your brother, Sibai replied expressionlessly. But then again, no matter what, we're considered life and death friends, right? Lin Yan grinned. Sibai snorted coldly. As long as you have a conscience, you wouldn't say something like that. What life and death friends? That's life and death. End of this chapter. Chapter 1323. Lin Yan studied Sibai thoughtfully. If her identity had been swapped with Sibai's, he might not have let her off so easily. However, Lin Yan was also a little suspicious of Sibai's words. She did have some impression of what Sibai had said, but she couldn't remember treating him so cruelly. According to Sibai, when she had been in the laboratory, she hadn't done a single thing. Lin Yan felt that she shouldn't be someone who could bully the weak. Do you still remember how you stepped on my head to escape? Sibai asked Lin Yan after some time. Lin Yan smiled awkwardly when she heard Sibai's words. She might not remember other things, but she hadn't forgotten that she had stepped on Sibai's head to escape the laboratory. However, she had never imagined that the young man whose head she had stepped on would be Sibai, who was sitting opposite her. Sibai, if I hadn't stepped on you back then what would I have done? Sibai glanced at Lin Yan. Lin Yan stroked her chin as her brain raced. At the very least, she had to find an excuse. Otherwise it would be too awkward. It's fine. Take your time to think. I'll wait for your quibble, replied Sibai. If I hadn't stepped on your head, would you have grown so tall now? Asked Lin Yan. Sibai frowned when he heard that. This quibble was too disrespectful to him. Sibai, I swear. I remember you. I have a deep impression of you. I really didn't expect to meet you again in my lifetime. Sigh. You don't know how guilty I've felt towards you all these years. I've been worried about you day and night. I was afraid that you would suffer endlessly in the laboratory, because I couldn't save you. It wasn't that I didn't want to save you, but I really didn't have the strength. My hand slipped and I didn't hold you. Believe me, Lin Yan explained to Sibai. Sibai didn't react to Lin Yan's words. He stared at Lin Yan in silence for a moment before he said slowly, You just said that you have a deep impression of me, and that you feel guilty towards me all these years. Lin Yan nodded and replied hastily, Yeah, I feel so guilty that I can't sleep well every night. How could I forget you? If you hadn't used your head as a chair, I wouldn't have been able to escape. Oh, then you still have some conscience, Sibai said. I've always been kind. Lin Yan nodded. All right, Sibai said lightly. In that case, you should know what my name was when I was in the laboratory. Lin Yan was taken aback by Sibai's words. Lin Yan lowered her head and tried to recall. After a while, Lin Yan raised her head again and stared at Sibai. How could I forget? Tell me. Lin Yan racked her brains and finally recalled some familiar names. Lin Yan grinned. Of course I know. Your name is Little Flower. When she saw the change in Sibai's expression, Lin Yan immediately said, Little Flower, I didn't expect it to be you. Do you know how worried I've been about you all these years? Little Flower, it's great that you're alive. From now on we'll be siblings. Sibai studied Lin Yan deeply. Little Flower is the fierce dog that the laboratory used to guard us. End of this chapter. Chapter 1324. Little Flower, was the dog in charge of guarding the experiment? The smile on Lin Yan's face froze. No wonder the name Little Flower sounded familiar. Lin Yan remembered that the dog had bitten her and her brother, Lin Nua. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase myself. Lin Yan sized up Sibai for a few seconds. Are you a spinning top? Sibai straightened his back and said, You're right, I guess. Back in the laboratory, Lin Yan had kicked Sibai and made him spin around like a spinning top. After that, she had been calling Sibai a spinning top. Lin Yan seemed to recall the origin of Sibai's name. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. She had to admit that Sibai was magnanimous. If it had been Lin Yan, they would have fought to the death today. Only one of them would have survived. It's said that it's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Sibai glanced at Lin Yan and whispered. Lin Yan glanced at Sibai warily. Was he trying to take revenge for the 13 beatings she had suffered when she was young? Fortunately, I'm not a gentleman, said Sibai. Lin Yan was speechless. Forget it. I've already left the laboratory. There's nothing I can't tell you. After you abandoned your friend and escaped, something did happen, said Sibai. Before Sibai could continue, Lin Yan interrupted him. Who was it? Who was afraid of death and abandoned their friends? Sibai frowned slightly. Then what you're saying is that we weren't friends at that time. Since that's the case, we don't have anything to talk about. Lin Yan gritted her teeth and said, Nonsense. Was I afraid of death? I was clearly a treacherous person. I fled in the face of danger, and was as timid as a mouse. I was a villain. Sibai nodded. I'm very pleased that you can admit it. Lin Yan felt like crying. Can we talk now? I want to know about my brother and the ins and outs of the laboratory. The owner of the laboratory is a vicious woman who is not much older than us. Everything about her is a mystery. It is known that she is extremely strong in the field of experimental technology. Most of the experimental bodies that are captured have very strong evolved genes. She uses experimental technology to create these people into super strong evolved people. And these evolved people will eventually become her subordinates, Sibai said. Lin Yan was astonished when she heard Sibai's words. Are they all ordinary people? Not necessarily. Sibai said. Some of them are ordinary people, and some are postnatal evolvers. Why don't you find a connate evolved being? If you capture a connate evolved being, and use this technique to create it, wouldn't it be even more terrifying? Asked Lin Yan. In theory, yes. Sibai nodded. But that woman's thoughts are very strange. She only captures ordinary people and postnatal evolvers. Sibai continued. After you escaped, your younger brother, Lin Nua, was captured not long after. Lin Nua and I became the focus of our training. Lin Yan didn't say anything. She still felt a little guilty. After escaping back then, she had been quickly caught up. Her brother had been captured again, but she had escaped. In the end, I became like this. Sibai smiled. She changed my life. I didn't want to have anything to do with evolved people, but she turned me into one. Not only that, but she also forced me to do many things that I couldn't accept. This is a debt she owes me. I have to make her pay me back. End of this chapter. Chapter 1325. Lin Yan glanced at Sibai with a strange expression on her face. Wasn't this a good thing? He had gone from an ordinary person to an evolved being, and possessed a very powerful evolutionary ability. In the end, he kept saying that this wasn't what he wanted. Lin Yan wished that she could have Sibai's evolutionary ability. She would probably wake up smiling even in her dreams. Do you find it strange that I hate that woman, because she possesses an evolutionary ability that many people dream of? Sibai said softly when he noticed Lin Yan's strange expression. Lin Yan chuckled and replied, No. Everyone has different thoughts. It's normal for you not to want to become an evolved being, and not have such an ability. It's just like how I don't want to become a billionaire, but someone forced me to give me money. Of course I hate the person who gave me the money. That should be the case. Sibai quipped. I feel that your analogy is a little inappropriate. Lin Yin was speechless. Lin Nua's matter should have something to do with the Hunters Guild. If you have the channels, you can ask the Hunters Guild. Of course, I can't guarantee that you will be able to find out anything. The Hunters Guild. Lin Yin was deep in thought. According to the information Lin Yin had obtained, Lin Nua and the Hunters Guild seemed to be involved. However, Lin Yin wasn't sure what the truth was. However, Lin Yin was sure that Lin Nua hadn't left the Demoness. The two of them should still have a deep connection. As for the relationship between Lin Nua and the Demoness, Lin Yin didn't know for the time being. That's strange. Sibai stared at Lin Yin for a long time before he asked in confusion, "Why do you look so much like the Demoness?" Lin Yin felt a little guilty when she heard Sibai. How should she answer him? Based on the information Lin Yin had obtained, the Demoness that Sibai had mentioned was most likely her sister. The video on the dashcam was enough to prove the problem. If the Demoness was really her sister, her appearance would make sense. However, Lin Yin couldn't be certain at this stage. She still needed to wait for the DNA test results to come out. If He Muyin really wasn't her biological mother, she would probably have more to investigate. She might really be related to the Mu family. I understand now. Sibai's sudden voice disrupted Lin Yan's thoughts. Lin Yin snapped back to her senses and asked curiously, "What did you understand?" "Your appearance and that woman's," Sibai said. Lin Yin frowned. Had the spinning top figured out that the Demoness was her sister? If the spinning top knew about the relationship between her and the female devil, would he blame her because he couldn't get revenge on the female devil? You were also seized by the laboratory when you were young. With that Demoness experimental skills, it shouldn't be impossible for her to make you look the same as her, Sibai said. Lin Yin was speechless. Wasn't his imagination a little too wild? I think so. Sibai glanced at Lin Yin. Do you think it's possible? Yes. Yes. Lin Yin nodded frantically. You're right. But why did that woman do this? What good would it do her? Sibai fell into deep thought. He really couldn't guess why the Demoness had changed Lin Yan's appearance. End of chapter. Chapter 1326. Lin Yin could only give Sibai a thumbs up. As long as Sibai didn't think that the Demoness was her sister, she could guess whatever he wanted. Anyway, the feud between him and the Demoness couldn't be blamed on her. Tell me, what's the Demoness' motive for doing this? Sibai's gaze landed on Lin Yin. As Sibai spoke, Lin Yin pondered silently. How could there be such a boring person in this world? Was she using some kind of experimental technique to make a stranger look like her? I guessed it again. Suddenly, Sibai smiled at Lin Yin. You're really unlucky. Lin Yin straightened her back and pretended to be listening attentively. Please speak. The origins of this she-devil are mysterious. Practically no one knows her identity. In these past few years, the things that she has done have most likely offended too many people. She is definitely afraid of having too many enemies, so she wants to find a substitute. And you are the substitute that she has chosen. Lin Yin tried hard to hold back her laughter. Her expression was solemn, as she gave Sibai a thumbs up. Spinning top, your deduction is amazing. I think you're right. With Lin Yan's approval, Sibai seemed to be more confident in his deduction. He added, after you were captured and brought to the laboratory, she chose you as her substitute. After that, she secretly did something to you, causing you to look exactly like her in the future. She must have wanted to train you as her substitute, but she didn't expect you to run away. Lin Yin nodded hurriedly and said to Sibai, Yes. You're right. Fortunately, I ran fast. Otherwise, I would have become her substitute. Just like the misunderstanding between you and me, because of our appearances, I mistook you for her and almost messed up the important matter. And this is the effect she wants. There should be many people like me who hate her to the bone, Sibai said. Lin Yin stared at Sibai for a long time and didn't speak. Fortunately, she had watched the video on the dashcam. Otherwise, she might have really believed Sibai's completely unreliable speculation. No matter what Sibai had said did make sense. Even though it was very unreliable, he had managed to come up with a solution. His deduction wasn't bad. But it was a pity that he had gone astray. Lin Yan, you have to be careful. If you are discovered by that woman, she will definitely not let you off. Your almost perfect substitute is enough to help her offset the hatred of many people. To put it nicely, you are just a substitute. To put it bluntly, you are just a scapegoat, said Sibai. Lin Yan was filled with emotions. It wasn't easy for the spinning top, who had been bullied by her since she was young, to care about her now. Lin Yan felt inferior. Before Lin Yan could say anything, her phone rang. Madam Lin, the results of your paternity test are out. Please come in person if you have time. Madam Lin, you can't tell me verbally. Madam Lin, you can't tell me verbally. Lin Yan's heart raced as she hung up. The truth was about to surface. Deep in Lin Yan's heart, she hoped that this was all a misunderstanding. She hoped that He Muyan was indeed her mother, and that she was still herself. All right, I still have a meeting. If there's anything, just call me. Sibai stood up and glanced at Lin Yan before turning to leave. Lin Yan hastily called the waiter for the bill. Your friend just took away 2 bottles of red wine. That's a total of 13,000. End of chapter. Chapter 1327. By the time Lin Yan paid the bill, Sibai was long gone. Spinning top, just you wait. Lin Yan gritted her teeth and turned to leave. If she hadn't been in a hurry to get the DNA test report, she would have left a deep impression on Sibai. When Lin Yan received the DNA test report, she felt conflicted. It wasn't because she wanted to know the truth. To Lin Yan, this matter wasn't that simple. Regardless of the truth, it would be far more complicated than she had imagined. Even if He Muyan was really her biological mother, nothing had changed. Lin Yan had a feeling that she had been dragged into an invisible whirlpool. Lin Yan's heart raced as she stared at the report. When she flipped through the report and saw the answer, she calmed down. The results of the DNA test were just as Lin Yan had expected. He Muyan wasn't her biological mother. Her mother, whom she had relied on for survival, wasn't related to her at all. After calming down, Lin Yan found it hard to accept. She was indeed not He Muyan's daughter, and it was even more impossible for her to have any relationship with Lin Yuetong. However, how did she become He Muyan's daughter? Did He Muyan know about her parentage? If she did, why had she never mentioned it to her when she was already so old? Could He Muyan be hiding something? Lin Yan called Wang Jingyang. After confirming that he was at home, she went to his place. She took out the key from the carpet and opened the door. Wang Jingyang was playing games on the couch. Lin Yan, help me get a drink from the fridge. Wang Jingyang glanced at Lin Yan before he instructed her. Lin Yan quipped, don't you have hands and legs? I'm playing games. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up. I'm thirsty. Wang Jingyang stared at the screen intently. Lin Yan whipped out a can and tossed it at Wang Jingyang. Lin Yan, when did I offend you? Why did you have to be so rough? Are you human? Wang Jingyang didn't put down his game controller. Stop playing. I have something to talk to you about. Lin Yan sat on the couch and stared at Wang Jingyang. If you have something to say, just say it. Can't you see that I'm busy? Didn't I tell you that the best thing about me is that I can multitask? Playing games doesn't affect chatting with you, Wang Jingyang said. If you don't throw the controller away, I will throw your game console down the building. Do you believe me? Lin Yan replied expressionlessly. Throw my game console? Wang Jingyang didn't even glance at Lin Yan as he sneered coldly. I don't believe you. Try throwing my game at me. Lin Yan rose from her seat and strode towards the game console. Seeing this, Wang Jingyang broke out in a cold sweat. He hurriedly put the game controller on the coffee table and said, Wait! Lin Yan turned to glare at Wang Jingyang. I thought you didn't believe me. What a joke! Wang Jingyang replied solemnly. Lin Yan, do you think I'm the kind of person who cares about a game console? Alright, you're right. I do care. Come on, put the game console down. Yes, slow down. I spent all my savings on it. Be gentle. Do you know that this is the latest technology? Do you know how much it costs? It's secondhand, and there's no warranty. End of the chapter. Chapter 1328. Lin Yin put the game away and sat on the couch. Big sister, what's wrong? Why do you look so serious? Wang Jingyang studied Lin Yin, who seemed troubled. Suddenly his expression changed. Lin Yin, did you cheat on your boyfriend? Did you meet your true love? Lin Yin glared at Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang stroked his chin and said, Did your boyfriend cheat on you? Look, what did I say? No man is good. Those stinky men. It has nothing to do with cheating. Lin Yin snapped. What was going on in this guy's head? Then did he have an affair? Wang Jingyang frowned. Lin Yin was speechless. Wasn't having an affair and cheating the same thing? Lin Yin turned around and faced Wang Jingyang with a solemn expression. I suspect that my mother isn't my mother. Your mother isn't your mother? Wang Jingyang stared at Lin Yin in confusion. What do you mean? If your mother isn't your mother, is she my mother? After that, Wang Jingyang took a sip of his drink. Before he could swallow it, Lin Yin added, Can't you be more normal? What I mean is that He Muyun isn't my biological mother. Lin Yin had barely finished speaking when Wang Jingyang, who was completely unprepared, spat the drink in his mouth on Lin Yin. Wang Jingyang scrambled to his feet and wiped Lin Yan's face with a towel. Sorry, I choked. Lin Yin glanced at Wang Jingyang. I've been through a lot recently, so I suspect that I'm not He Muyun and Lin Yuedong's child. Nonsense, Wang Jingyang said sternly. Lin Yin, how could you think that? You are gravely mistaken. Auntie Yin must be very sad. She raised you with all her feces and urine. How could you suspect that she isn't your mother? You disappoint me. What is there to be disappointed about? Lin Yin was perplexed. Wasn't Wang Jingyang's reaction a little too drastic? His reaction was so drastic that she couldn't understand it. Lin Yin, Auntie Yin is definitely your mother. Don't let your imagination run wild, said Wang Jingyang. How can you be so sure? Asked Lin Yin. You're the one who said that. The two of us are childhood sweethearts. I've known you and Aunt Yin since we were young. How could I not know if Aunt Yin is your mother? Wang Jingyang said emotionally. Lin Yin studied Wang Jingyang with a strange expression on her face. If she didn't know, she would think that Wang Jingyang was her father. I have evidence, replied Lin Yin. Take it out for me to see. Wang Jingyang's face was full of disbelief. All these years, he had done everything flawlessly. He refused to believe that Lin Yin had any evidence. Lin Yin tossed the report to Wang Jingyang. DNA test. Wang Jingyang was puzzled. Why would Lin Yin want to do a DNA test? No matter how flawless he and He Muyun were, it couldn't beat a paternity test, right? What a bad move back then. Wang Jingyang had wanted to buy all the paternity testing agencies in the city, but he didn't have that much money. Not to mention buying all of them. He couldn't even afford to buy one besides. Wang Jingyang hadn't expected that Lin Yin would suspect his identity. Before Lin Yin could speak, Wang Jingyang added, What can that cold machine prove? Is it more convincing than the fact that Auntie Yin has been feeding you since she was young? Lin Yin, you're wrong. How could you trust a machine? What does a machine represent? What did it do to make you trust it? Does it have a mind? Can it speak? Can it see that you're not Auntie Yin's daughter? In the end, Wang Jingyang stood up agitatedly. Do I make sense? Shouldn't you reflect on yourself? Where's your intelligence? Where's your wisdom? You're a good person. Why did you have to deal with a machine? Do you believe in the cold machine or Aunt Yin? End of this chapter. Chapter 1329. Lin Yin glanced at Wang Jingyang, who was beaming with joy. This fellow was somewhat abnormal. The truth was right before her eyes. Lin Yin had no idea why Wang Jingyang was so agitated and trying to convince her. Aren't you overreacting? Lin Yin glared at Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang, who was startled, glanced at Lin Yin. I just think that we should be cautious. After all, Wang Jingyang felt as though he couldn't continue lying. Lin Yin studied Wang Jingyang intently. After some time she asked, Pup, do you know something? Wang Jingyang shook his head furiously. How would I know anything about your family? After Lin Yin left, Wang Jingyang wanted to call He Muyan. However, the call didn't go through. Since Lin Yin already knew that He Muyan wasn't her biological mother, there was nothing he could do. Besides, the main point wasn't to convince Lin Yin that she was related to He Muyan's mother. Instead, he wanted to know why Lin Yin had suspected her relationship with He Muyan and caused her to do a paternity test. He had been hiding with Lin Yin all these years. Even though he had helped Lin Yin get a new identity, things would eventually come. Perhaps they should leave the country. It was too dangerous to stay here. Wang Jingyang dialed the number. Wang Jingyang, speak. Has Lin Yin contacted you recently? Wang Jingyang asked softly. We've been keeping in touch. Every once in a while I'll talk to her. What was the content of your conversation? Most of it was about her brother. Let me tell you something. Lin Yin did a paternity test and found out that He Muyan isn't her mother. As Wang Jingyang's voice fell, the other end of the conversation fell into a brief silence. A moment later, the man said softly, Wang Jingyang, you have to be careful. My intelligence network can't be wrong. The Mu family, the sacred ground, and a mysterious force have found Lin Yin and Muyu. You don't have to worry about Muyu. Wang Jingyang frowned and pinched his temples. Wang Jingyang, you better protect her for me. I only have one sister in this life. If anything happens to her, we won't be finished. Xiaoza, let's not talk about anything else. There's something I want to ask you. Is there any problem with the white crane I asked you to investigate last time? It shouldn't be a problem for an ordinary disciple of a holy land. If the holy land really starts to make a move, but he is definitely not qualified to participate. Did your eldest brother Xiao Ji and your second brother Xiao Yao make any moves? Wang Jingyang wasn't worried about Xiao Yao. As long as he was still the leader of the third firmament Xiao Ji. The two of them had been in the Mountain Sea Kingdom back then, so he knew very well what kind of person Xiao Ji was. Although Wang Jingyang believed that Xiao Ji liked Lin Yin, he couldn't deny that he had ulterior motives. At the mention of Xiao Yao and Xiao Ji, a sigh was heard. Wang Jingyang, you know that my big brother and second brother are like fire and water. I don't get involved in their affairs, so I don't have any information about them. However, don't worry. My big brother and second brother wouldn't harbor any other intentions towards Lin Yin. No matter what, I plan to leave the country with Lin Yin. Wang Jingyang replied after some thought. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.